Folks, how you doing? Happy Freedom Day to all of the Americans. Happy Game of Thrones Day to everybody that is civilized, because that is what today is all about. We all know it to be true. A Game of Thrones will be in today's main event, which you can see right over there in the schedule. We got the introduction today. Then we have a beautiful, beautiful panel. It's called Deep Dive into the Time Machine. And it has a bunch of people, we're going to get to that in a second, a bunch of people talk about how they do their research, why it's so important, and why they do their mods, and so on and so forth. Now after that, we got the Mad Majapahit ModJam. What are we going to do in that? I have a compatriot, a companion, an ally that is going to go and play the Majapahit mod with me. I hope it all works out. That's the biggest question, I think. It might just desync, we will see about it, but the truth about it is that we got some gameplay planned there. We also want to show off, of course, you know, just the latest of the mod. Now, the person that will be joining me there is Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, that's right, we got him. We got Matthew McConaughey. It's Matt Clohessy. And that is how you prepare an introduction for somebody, because now you know that you should truly be hyped. McConaughey, nobody cares, but Matt is a CK3 programmer, and I'm gonna ask him which one was the best mod that he saw in this event. After that, we have the main event. We got, let's see, what kind of mods do we have there? We got something like, it's like a, oh, help me here. It's like a bold kid and got like an arrow on the, you know, whatever that is. Then we got a Game of Thrones. I mean, you already knew that. We got some Way of Kings. We got some beautiful Princes of Darkness, and many more. I mean, not many, but a number more, right? And then last, of course, and I want to push this right now. A Game of Thrones will be last in the main event today. Okay? Please do be aware, it's last. So, if anybody asks, you can tell them for the 100th time, it's going to be the last part of the main event today. Now, there is something that I want to talk about. And primarily that is, and I mean, we're going to do that later today as well, but all of you certainly deserve it. This is the last time that I'm going to do this introduction for ModCon. This is the last day of ModCon, and I have to say, I mean, I'm done. This took so much energy and effort. I am completely spent. You wouldn't believe. I basically went to bed around like 0, maybe 1 a.m. every day, woke up at 5. And then I would just keep editing, keep scripting, and do all of that stuff while things were happening. So basically the entire day was just completely full for me. But it was worth it, because ModCon has been so much fun, and it will continue to be so much fun. This is, as you can see, the last day that we got here. Maybe we're going to do another ModCon, who knows, it's difficult to say. Now, one thing that I want to highlight is, of course, that if you go on our website, modcon.xyz, you get this beautiful, beautiful link hub. We created it for the mods that are involved in the ModCon, and you can see right here that you can sort it. You can go, oh, look at this. I don't like fantasy stuff. I only like historical stuff. There you go. I'm going to play The Lion and the Lilies. The mod is out, by the way. It's part of CMH, if I'm not mistaken here. Yep, it is. Look at that. You can also join the mod co-op. The mod co-op is where all of your friendly modders, your friendly neighborhood modders, and all the international Mr. Worldwide modders as well are gathered. And they are willing to talk to you. You know, I know it's not easy to believe. They're willing to talk to you and to talk about any projects that you might have. If you want to know more about projects, then make sure to join their servers again under modcon.xyz. These glasses, by the way, are the worst like meme thing that I ever bought. This is great, but the glasses, they're so uncomfortable. The other thing that I want to highlight is how genuinely amazing all of you are. We have so far raised 1,909 euro. I will be adding another 500. I pledged to do that at the start of ModCon. And I hope sincerely that we can possibly make it to 2,000 today, because that would blow me away. I never anticipated this. This money, 100% of it, both my money and the money that is spent on this coffee fundraiser, will be given to Autismus Mittelfranken, who are an amazing organization. They work on open spaces, self-advocacy, and legal. As they basically go to the government, and the government says, hey, could you advise us on what this law should look like? They do great work in Bavaria. I think that is something that everybody can appreciate, and if you want to support what we do here at ModCon, I mean, you don't support us, but this is basically what we want to transform it into something positive, then feel free, you know, to check out the page here, to maybe donate, to check out their page if you want to feel comfortable. That is, of course, always important, but I want to say thank you right now for 1,909 euro raised so far. absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Seriously, I can't say anything but thank you when it comes to this, because it is just so good. Now here's the link, in case you hadn't seen it yet. What are we gonna do here today? I mean, you know, I talked about it. We're gonna do the deep dive in the time machine first. You know what? I'm gonna take a breather, man. How do you feel after 3 days of ModCon? How do you feel? You lost your card? Oh, don't listen. Hey, take care of yourself, please. But yes, in the end, the ModCon celebration will be more relaxed yet again. We just want to take a look and say, hey, look at it happened. Things are. I see Tobson saying exhausted, tired, hyped. It's been good. See, that's the difference. Tobson and El Terranos are... they're modders. They worked on things. And then the other two are hyped and it's been good. They're viewers. I'm happy to hear it from both sides. You woke up early just to watch this? Oh, CyberX Khan, I appreciate it. You want to see yourself, of course. I want to play all of the mods, well, for that you gotta become a content creator. And they'll give them to you for free. Ethnicities and Portraits today. Ethnicities and Portraits is an amazing mod, but they are not involved here directly. They are involved technically because they are on CMH. Amazing work, I just want to highlight that. I think Celticus and Xangelo and all the other people like Uber and everybody else working on that mod, astonishing results. Will you be doing this next year as well? Maybe. I really like the idea of I mean, honestly, it's been fun. And I think I can say this. We still got time until the event starts, the deep dive into the time machine. It's been so exhausting for me. Over a month ago, like, during PDXCon, we started planning this, and it's been a lot of work throughout. It's so much coordination. I talked to so many different people. You know, basically after a week or two, we were settling on this is what ModCon is. This is the content, these are the people participating, and this is it. And then began the hard part, because then you need to get everybody to record their parts, to send them in, to get what, you know, the parts need to be like. And there can always be issues, and honestly, I don't blame any of them, right? Because they don't work with, like, OBS, they don't work with Premiere, with Photoshop. So there's no worries about that, right? There's no, nothing in the air there, like, no bad feelings. But, man, it's exhausting. It's very exhausting, but at the same time, it's so much fun. I have never done something as big as this in the entire history, not even close, in the entire history of the channel. It's just been so fun. It was crazy. It was something else, for sure. We will definitely, if we do this again, I already gotta tell you, see Cruxador saying, you gotta be harder about deadlines. The thing about this is, actually, I think I learned a lot. Not just about the deadlines, but also about the structure of it. I think what we care about, what I care about as a content creator, what you care about as a modder, what others care about as viewers. I think we can have you know, this is the base limit now. This is the worst ModCon that you will ever see. Can I just say that? This is the worst ModCon ever done. Because the next one will be so much better. That's the idea behind it. You know where I'm coming from? I got 3 more minutes. I'm gonna just, there's actually Zero said something in chat, said, a very long way from that channel. I actually wanna make that public. So, in 2018, I started this channel. I did stupid stuff, just Let's Plays, blah blah, boring as hell. And I got bored by it myself, and so I stopped doing it. And then a friend of mine commented under a video that was like a month old at that point and said, that channel. And you know, spite can be a great motivator. Because today we're here. I was ready to give up the channel. At that point I was like, screw it, you tried it. Didn't work for you, didn't have fun, they didn't have fun. This is it, right? And now we're here. So somebody's saying that channel made all of this happen. So that's that's a bit of a different approach to things, I think. Thank you, by the way, Arte. How are you doing? Elder Kings 2 Discord represent. Your Let's Plays were my favorite. I really like to hear that. I really like, I want to get back. I don't know. When I do gameplay videos, I'm not feeling it. I like streams, you know, like gameplay streams, but I need to feel it. I'm gonna do like special. I'm gonna, upcoming, by the way, I want to make this bigger than ever. Any project that I can. We're gonna look into gameplay, but I gotta figure out how to do it. Dead ModCon. Now you watch out. We're gonna do a ModCon every month. This is what you did. Every damn month. 50 mods. Every month. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna... I'm not sure about that. But what we're gonna do next is the actual panel. That is the deep dive into the time machine. It is a very interesting history panel where many modders talk about what they do when it comes to history, how they approach history, and how they unify that with the game. Because if anybody has any knowledge about the medieval era, then it's surely our modders that are trying to implement it as, you know, authentically as possible. And the truth is, and I don't think Paradox, like, goes out of their way to do anything against history. I don't think that at all, but I do think that sometimes you need to make compromises between gameplay and history, and that is a big topic for modders as well, so there's a lot to talk about. We have the modder behind Ave Maria on this, that is Atreides. We have the modder behind the community flavor pack, that is of course El Tyrannos. Then we have the modder behind the community title pack, that is Viridianus and Farabi. Then we have the Muslim enhancements, that is Ace, Butchikan and Dvariak. And then we have the modder in chat, CyberX Khan, behind Viet and Rice. If you've played with those mods, then you will know just how utterly amazing all of these modders are. And all of their mods. There's so much quality in there, so many of them. So many of them are in... Have you finished Blood Eagle yet? I actually lost an episode. And then I finished it. Like, listen, we talk about this later, okay? But here's where I'm talking. These modders put something amazing together, and I'm gonna hand you off to them. There's a lot to be talked about, a lot to be enjoyed, and I will see you afterwards for the mad Majapahit ModJam. Until then, folks.
Hello, I'm Atreides and welcome to Ave Maria section in this history modding panel. In this video, we'll explore how we handle the topic of history in our Crusader Kings 3 modding. We will start with a few definitions and a brief overview on how history intersects with video games in general. Then, in the second part, we will see the specificities of Crusader Kings 3 and its portrayal of the Middle Ages and how it can have issues. Finally, we will explore how modding and Ave Maria tries to solve some of those issues. In this first section, we need to start with a few definitions. You probably have encountered the words historical accuracy and historical in a lot of video game discussions and mod names. But what do they mean in our context? History is the academic historical discipline producing narratives of the past from primary, secondary sources, archaeology, and various material evidence. Accuracy and authenticity for historical scholarships means that the work produced is truthful to the information and sources available. There are methods to ensure that the available information, its interpretation, and the conclusions presented can be checked and, if necessary, verified. That is why scholarship has footnotes, a bibliography, and a source index. To have to cite your sources is what ensures accuracy for academic historians. Video games, on the other hand, are cultural works of fiction, and are usually far remote from the historical discipline and the historical method, despite often being marketed as historical. They do not have to adhere to citable sources. By definition, a video game is free to pursue stories that cannot be found in the historical record, expand upon them, or go in avenues and directions that historical scholarship cannot. And that's what makes them interesting. Accuracy and authenticity for works of fiction, and in our case, video games, mean giving the player the feel of the historical period they are trying to depict, the frame of mind and contingencies of the historical actors they are trying to portray. It does not mean representing all the nitty-gritty details like the numbers of buttons on a coat for a soldier, but more the key contingencies of a period. However, even if the past is by definition elusive, video games have trouble being authentic and accurate as we just defined. For a number of reasons, and usually commercial reasons, historical video games are more or less painting preconceived notions about the history of a period than anything else. That's not to say that video games are bad, or to say that the video game medium is not a useful tool to teach history. Merely that most actual games are not up to par, despite being a good introduction to history to a wider audience. Besides, game imperfection can also be used to teach interesting facts and narratives by history professors. As a video game, Crusader Kings 3 is no exempt in that regard. While it is succeeding in crafting gameplay elements that are contextually relevant for the Middle Ages, like the personal nature of rulership, non-unitary states, or the fragmentation of power structures, the game is still falling short in giving an accurate representation of the context of the period, and usually goes into something specific about the portrayal of the Middle Ages in works of fiction. Medievalism. What is medievalism? In short, it is the creative interpretation or recreation of the European Middle Ages. Medievalism had a major presence in the cultural memory of modern North America and Europe, and has grown to become a global phenomenon. In the last 2 decades alone, there has been many popular manifestations of medievalism works, such as Harry Potter books and films, Game of Thrones, Marco Polo, The Last Kingdom, Disenchantment, The Lord of the Rings movies, or even the board game Carcassonne. Attempting to summarize medievalism in its entirety is a challenging task for a number of reasons, and we'll not try to do so here. But what is important in our context is that Crusader Kings 3, through its aesthetics, artwork, and mechanics, participates in recreating a certain vision of the Middle Ages. A vision that borrows from quasi-medieval context and tropes that are quite distant to what an academic medievalist might understand as the Middle Ages. In a 1973 seminal article, Dreaming of the Middle Ages, Umberto Eco, the famous Italian medievalist, set to explore the renewed interest for the period in our popular culture. He proposed 10 little Middle Ages, which are 10 various ways that work of fiction project contemporary biases, anxieties, and desires into the past. One of those, the barbaric age medievalism, the shaggy medievalism, dirty and violent, is the Dark Ages, that can easily be found in the 867 start date, full of violent Viking raiders and berserkers, and civilized political entities where you are in a constant danger of being conquered by your neighbor. But in the game, we can also find elements of the Romanticism Middle Ages, with some lighter elements such as the in-game romance options, or even the game concept of knights. Even medieval dreams of traditions, like the decisions towards avenging the Battle of Tours, can be found in the game. All in all, several elements of medieval tropes can be found scattered around the game. So, all in all, even if vanilla Crusader Kings 3, despite incorporating elements that are useful to understand the social structures of the time, and in that regard being accurate, equally projects tropes and myths that are far remote from what we know of the Middle Ages through historical scholarship. With all that said, where do we go from here, and what can modding do to alleviate the situation? Well, I am sure you can guess where this is going. Ave Maria is founded on the objective of trying to mod the aesthetics and mechanics of the game to better fit what we know of the Middle Ages from actual academic research. To use historical method to translate academic research into game content. We want to put the player in all of the contextual realities that were contingent to the characters you are playing. In order to realize our objective, the best solution is, of course, to have a good foundation and a solid knowledge of the period and of the societies we want to focus on. This knowledge is gathered either through personal studies, for instance, Scarecrow, who is now working as a content designer for CK3 since earlier this year, has done a PhD thesis examining the connection between politics, administration, and identity in Byzantium, and has provided tremendous value to the mod. Several other academic researchers have provided direct input that helped craft several of the mod mechanics. Our other developers, who have now followed a professional academic path, have acquired a knowledge of the period through extensive readings of a large body of secondary sources, from general books to obscure research articles. But unlike our comrades at Cultural Photo Project or Extended Portraits and Ethnicities, who are more focused on the physical and visual interpretation of past material culture, the choice was made to focus first on the mechanics of governments for several key political entities of the time. The Roman empires, known in vanilla as the Byzantines, the Islamic empires, and finally Western Europe. All this in order to break the vanilla blanket uniform government system put in place for most of the depicted world. The sources we use are usually the one related to game characters, the aristocrats. An article about theft and criminality in 11th century Constantinople is interesting and all, but rather remote from the focus of the game. That's why we're mostly using secondary sources related to political history or history of institutions. At the end of the day, the objective is to identify some key contextual elements of rulerships for the aristocrats of the time and fit that in game mechanics. Of course, there are unavoidable core things that cannot be changed through modding, but it is our hope and objective to do as much as is possible with the modding tools available to us, in order to better represent the realities of the exercise of power and daily life for the aristocrats of the different political entities of the time. In addition to the mechanical changes we are doing on government, the objective is also to enrich and liven the player's experience through events taken directly from primary sources. Social history and microhistory books would be used in those cases, but primary sources are also a perfect choice for this. A lot of the new events for Roman characters are taken directly from the Book of Ceremonies, a 10th century manuscript commissioned by Emperor Constantine VII, describing the protocols relevant to the various events regulating the life of the emperors in the court. Similarly, some upcoming new Fatimid events are crafted directly from translation of the original Fatimid Caliph Khutbah festival Friday sermons. To summarize, Ave Maria objective is to use academic research to mod Crusader Kings 3 with more contextually accurate mechanics and events as is humanly possible within the limits of engine, modding and gameplay.
Hello there, I'm Hellenistic from Community Flavor Pack, and today I will introduce you to the process of turning historical data into actual 3D models. We will take a very simple model as an example and you will see that you too can do it. So the first question I want to ask you is, in 1000 years, how will people imagine Western culture of 20th century? This question is completely anachronistic, of course, because the conditions are not the same, but still we will be completely forgotten by the accumulation of data from computers, or will we be completely forgotten because computers won't be a thing anymore and every sources will be lost, everything digital will be erased, and a few photographs will maybe survive in a paper format, but yeah, that's a bit the question. It's very difficult to narrow down sources, a surviving artifact, an anachronistic paint that was painted in 15th century about an event that happened in 10th century. There is an artistical bias from the author's style in itself. Of course, we have plenty of historical data, but what I want to point out as in this little introduction is what's remaining. Will we look at rulers? Will we look at popular culture? Will we forget about it? And in the medieval time, what are you looking at? Queens, kings, dukes, and maybe battles, and not so much about the regular guy. So how do I select the models? I have three main points. The first point is the historical authenticity. I don't like the accuracy word because I don't think we can represent anything accurately with this bias and this amount of lost data and the styles. So do I have documentation? Is the documentation representative of what people actually wore? Maybe you will see a chaperone in a painting. Okay, is it representative of this century? We will see a nasal helmet. Is it representative of how Western warriors fought, or is it very specific? Okay, of course it's mainstream, but it's quite kind of the questions you want to ask yourself. The second part is the artistic attractiveness. It's more about my personal motivations. Is the model interesting for me? Am I going to learn something? Am I going to be proud of it? Am I going to be able to showcase it in my own book? Is it not unique? Is it like just another type of flat top helmet? Is it something I already did in a similar form? Well, I'm less motivated. I want cultures to be unique looking and have nice assets and not look all the same or have 4 times the same helmet variation. It's not interesting artistically to me. So I try to combine this historical accuracy, authenticity, and my own motivation. And the last point is the contemporary representations and popularity. It's a bit the same as how will people in the future see us? Well, it's a question about how do we see medieval period. Our representations are built by movies, by legends, by so on. Anyone can imagine a knight in Jerusalem looking like the ones in Kingdom of Heaven. But is it accurate? It's strongly biased and we are aware of it, but still we would like our experience of a medieval game to look like our experience of a medieval movie, because it's a bit emotional, and the key here is really to match the three poles in order to to please the user. He has a good experience, to be historically authentic because it's important to maintain it, to have something that you can believe and that is consistent, and the artistic attractiveness, so that me as an artist, I like what I'm doing and I make choices that I'm happy with. So that's the 3 main things I'm trying to keep in mind each time I choose a new model. Okay, let's skip now to some sources. This is my suggestion box website where people can contribute and send me data. You just saw an artwork from Uriel with a historical advisor in Community Flavor Pack, and this is a very well documented suggestion about the closing for the Pope over time. By H.C. Kevin, and so you see that there is a ton of information which is more or less documented, more or less visual, and once this is gathered, I try to process it into something comprehensible visually. This is the asset we will focus on today. It's a Jewish hat called the Juden Hut. So it's very simple. It's just a cone-shaped hat. Let's skip about the historical detail. It's just easy to make, and I want to show you that here I'm trying to select a design I like, so I went for this one, and also because the image is very clear and good quality. And there I just make a cylinder and adjust it to the size of the reference, and I just draw on top basically. Here it's quite easy because the model is simple, and I really recommend you to start with this kind of models if you ever want to get into 3D. And you see there that I go back and forth to check the sources and be sure that, okay, my design is probably not looking like the actual thing, or maybe it is, or maybe it's not looking at the most representative style of this hat, because maybe the drawing is wrong, or maybe it's biased by the artist. But still, well, that's the source I have. If I look at various images, this is something that quite look like it, so it's authentic. And that's it, I'm happy with it. So I'm giving a few more details, prepare my iPolygon model, and that's it. I'm done with it. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how large should it be, how tall should it be, and so on. But clearly you should, if you want to get to with 3D, start with a simple model like this. Try to bring it in game. Read from the start to the end, and you will learn a lot of interesting things, and you will want to keep going and make something more complex. If you start too complex, you're going to crush against the wall and it's going to discourage you. Start easy, make something that looks easy and interesting to you. It's your own artistical decision. It's accurate, and you can start, and you will always find someone who will like your work, but you have to finish it. So it's to start simple and then get more complex. That's it. Thanks for listening. See you soon on the ModCon. If you ever need any 3D help, I'm often there trying to give advice when I can. See you.
This is a discussion on blended titles and languages in modding. For instance, you see that here a couple of titles don't look quite like they would look in vanilla. For instance, we have Vratislav Cheshsky Knez instead of, Duke of Bohemia. Let's choose Rurik because I'm Russian and I want to start from there. Different cultures speak different languages. That much is obvious. Except when they do not, some cultures do share a language, and this is important to keep in mind when you do something language related. You don't necessarily want to have each culture have a separate language. And sometimes we also have cultural distinctions which are red herrings. For instance, vanilla files distinguish between Serbian and Bosnian culture, which doesn't make much sense for the game starts. Or between Mongol and Buryat, or Galician and Portuguese. We had someone in the team for community title project who was really livid about that. Of course, if the cultures aren't to be distinguished, their languages are also identical, but the reverse doesn't necessarily work. If we have two cultures which are really distinct, they may or may not speak the same language. And even if they do speak the same language, we potentially can end up having different titles or different names because while the language is the same, their customs of using it may not be the same. Among customs of using, there are many things which can be handled from gameplay perspective. Okay, let's say you want to give your rulers some culture appropriate titles. This will be related to their language, of course, unless you want to use translations which will have their own failures. If you use translations, then you don't risk being misunderstood, but you do find yourself in the problem of finding actual good translations. For instance, there are cultures which have a title which is traditionally translated as king, but for the game's purposes, it's more likely to be a Duke or even a count. We, in community title project, went with another option, using the titles from the language itself as if they were borrowings. We have our friend Rurik here, and he is a Conan. What does it mean? If we look at him, we see that he rules over a duchy tier realm, and this duchy is independent. And thus we call it Riki, literally a kingdom. That's why one of the reasons why you can't just apply translations and call it a day. And we call him Konung, so basically a king. So let's now look at Swithid. And here we have another person of the same rank. He has vassals, and we see them being called Hersi. This is supposed to be a nasal E. Hersi. He is a tribal count, and he is not independent because he is vassal of our friend Björn. But if the guy were independent, we wouldn't call him Hersi. Like, let's look at this place. This is a county tier realm, and here we have a Drotin. Drotin is basically another word for king in old Scandinavian, but somewhat less prominent. Thus, we decided that an independent county ruler will have this title. What's important to understand is that such decisions are always somewhat arbitrary. We call this guy Drotin and this guy Konung because it helps the player to understand what's going on. But it's quite likely that in reality, they both could have called themselves Konung. We don't have a kingdom in this start date, do we? For a kingdom, we could either use the same Konung or go for a modified decision of using something like High King, Thiot Konung. And I remember in the past we fluctuated a bit between those decisions, and here we have a Kuning. And obviously Kuning is related to Kong, so we generally want to have similar titles in different cultures to designate the same. But it's not always possible. Here we have Italy, ruled by a French ruler, so we have Rois at that moment still Rois and Regnes. We have Deuce and Ducat, and they are both feudal dukes. Only one of them is likewise French and the other is Italian. Then we go to, say, Spain, and we expect to find something pretty similar. Well, modified by that language, but still pretty similar. We have a rege, and he rules over a duke. So far, so good, with one important difference. We actually pulled this duke out of, well, my mind. Actually, in Spain, there were generally no dukes until quite late. They were called condes. This created a situation where you could have two different guys, one actually duke level and one county level, and they were both called conde. And this would be confusing, so we went for a little anachronistic decision for the player's sake, and we called the dukes duke. This ruler, by the way, allows me to illustrate another point. Sometimes you won't have many titles for a culture. Like this culture is the culture called Visigothic in vanilla. This is a pre-split Ibero-Romance culture. We don't have many data on it. So what I had to do for this particular culture is I had to go and reconstruct the titles. Well, in this case, forward construct. We know some vulgar Latin, we know the ways of development it underwent for making the Iberian languages, and I basically imagined them. I know that Latin was rex, accusative regum, because it's accusatives that derive forms. I know that the later languages have something like re, and I have to imagine / research the intermediate form. And here we get to this rega, even though it might be unattested. One of the reasons why things are unattested is because the spoken language of the elite, which we aimed for, is not necessarily the language used in writing. Most of the Europe tried to use Latin to the best of their ability in all official writings. So we don't get many national texts until fairly recently. And then you go for another related problem. There are a lot of cultures which generally only had a single title for a ruler. I call them kniaz type cultures because Russian culture was among those, and Polish culture was among those, and they used their words for prince, kniaz, and ksiądz to basically be used for rulers of wildly varying level of rulership. And in most of these cases, we were able to come to some kind of decision which would not make the game awful for the player. Like we have this guy, he's a kniaz, and we have his underling, who's a voj, chieftain. But if we had a single kingdom here, we don't, because there wasn't a Russian kingdom until quite some time. If we had a single kingdom there, it would be a Veliki kniaz. And if we had a feudal count, we don't see feudal counts here, but if there were one, we would have Udelny kniaz, appanage prince. Bulgarians actually circumvented it. They initially were very similar, but then they got Zhupans. This illustrates an important point that even related cultures may have different solutions to this problem. And thus, potentially, you could end up in a situation where the same title means one thing in one culture and another thing in another culture. A related point is that cultures change over time. So here we have księstwo of Wielkie Polsce, and here we have ksiądz. And it's an important point. In this time, he's called ksiądz, but if you show it to a modern Polish guy, they will freak out, and they have freaked out, because ksiądz has moved on to move something like a priest. And now they call their rulers książę, which originally was a term for a princeling, for a child of a prince. So książę went on to move duke, and ksiądz went off to move priest. I probably pronounced them awfully, by the way. I'm Russian, not Polish. But we follow the medieval practice when possible. And so we call this guy ksiądz and not książę. We also have those Arabic rules. And here we have a sultan, because he is of a special kind of Islam faith. But this sultan is actually not the Arabic word for king. The Arabic word for king is Malik, as you can see here. His grandfather is reflected as Malik. Some Arabic rulers should use Malik, their actual word for king. And some of them, because they're also pious Islamic rulers, should use sultan. Technically, the same could happen on lower levels, but here we decided not to reflect that. And we see that sultan is not only used for Arabs, but also for some other cultures if they're also Islamic. So remember that religion can also influence your linguistic choices, because some titles are associated with some religions. So this guy is actually Persian, and he has a related title in his own language, Sultan. But Arabs are funny not only when it comes to titles, they're also funny when it comes to names. So, and here we have a guy who's called Muhammad ibn Abd al-Rahman. And here we have our friend Farabi or Dom Tramans, who could actually tell you why this is awful. The floor is yours.
Well, nothing's too bad about Muhammad ibn Abd al-Rahman, but the original game doesn't have a particularly elaborate system of naming Arabs and other Muslim rulers. So what we've done, because of the importance of names next to titles, is created a system that reflects the incredible elaborate nature of medieval Islamic rulers. So we will have everything from personal names, the ism, followed by the patronymics, right up to the names by which many of Muslim rulers you will know them by. So we will have Salahuddin available as event's title that you can achieve in game. We will be revealing that soon, and we hope you enjoy all the work that's been put into all of this. And yes, thank you very much for hosting us today. So yes, we hope you enjoy the new features, including that Islamic naming. But I'll hand you back over to Viridianus, Dmitry, and then we can conclude.
So as you see, we have titles, we have names, and we also have some other things which should all go together well. Like, let's look at our neighbor here. We see here a culture name, which is, instead of French, Francois. And we had to use something in here too. The Frankish group was supposed to be marked as such. As you can see, we have a Provençal, which is for Occitan, and we also have this context. Francois have reached this era. For this culture, the term we see here and the term we see here are the same. But for some culture, it just doesn't work. Let's take, say, Welsh. We call them Cymry culture, but here we have Cymry, because here we need a plural, and here we need a singular adjective. So you also have to take into consideration the grammar of the language you use, because singular and plural can be related in unexpected ways. Now, here's this giant Russian blob. We see it called Ruski culture, which is also bad, by the way, because we would actually want to have gender here. We would want to have Ruskaya culture, but at least it's an adjective and it's consistent. But here we use a collective word. We use Rus. Rus have reached this era. And it's a neat trick. Sometimes you don't need the actual plural, which in this case would be Ruskie. You need a collective here, and it's Rus. Sometimes you do use the actual plural. We have Letuvishkas, but literary. So this is a noun in plural, and this is an adjective in singular. So these are the main considerations you may have, and we implore you to remember them when you do anything language related.
Hi, I'm Ace, and I'm the founder and project lead of Muslim Enhancements, which is a mod that aims to enrich the Islamic world by making numerous additions, fixes, and overall improvements to the region. Originally, this mod started as only a single fix, but has since grown with the help of the community to a mod that touches almost every aspect of the Muslim ruler's experience and has a passionate player base of over 7,500.
Greetings, I'm ModJam, part of the Muslim Enhancements team, and I mostly deal with adding and reworking game mechanics related to the Muslim world. I was so excited about CK3 that when it was released, I spent around 30 hours of the game in the first week. Even though I loved the game, after some time I felt something I had never felt with CK2, especially when playing in the Middle East. I was getting tired of the gameplay loop. The reason was clear. CK3 being a newly released game was bare bones and didn't have the depth CK2 had, the years of DLCs and patches. So I turned to the community mods, which were already enriching the vanilla experience within days of release. Eventually I found the Muslim Enhancements mod by Ace and volunteered to work with him on the mod.
Hi, I'm Devariak, and I'm one of the lead contributors on Muslim Enhancements, focused on historical research and implementation of faiths and events. For us, historical accuracy is important, but it also can't override the player principle of not being limited in what you can do. CK3 is ultimately a historical sandbox. As such, with historical accuracy, our goal is primarily to create scenarios that are historically plausible without necessarily being railroaded. So in terms of research for the mod, I was pretty fortunate in the sense that I was finishing my undergraduate degree in History and Islamic Studies at the University of Melbourne around the time that CK3 came out in September. I was entering the end of my third year. As such, I had already studied Islam in an academic context, and so was able to look at the game's Islamic content at launch pretty critically and really look at what needed to be changed from the start. However, I also needed to have access to a lot of historical texts, which is fortunate because throughout my studies, I, of course, got a few of them. In particular, 3 of the texts that I've consulted frequently have been Hugh Kennedy's Caliphate, which is an excellent general text, which has allowed us to explore dynasties and caliphates in a sort of general sense, along with Farhad Daftari's 2 works on medieval Shi'ism, or the history of Shia Islam. These books have given us a lot of insight into Shi'ism, which is really a dynamic movement throughout the Middle Ages compared to Sunnism, which was still sort of finding its feet legalistically. And then finally, I've been consulting a lot of Kathran Babian's Mystics, Monarchs and Messiahs, which has allowed us to have a really good look at some of the more heterodox movements, because the movements on the fringes are often more interesting to players than the movements that we know a lot about. More importantly than this sort of academic this academic background, though, is the fact that many of our contributors come from a Muslim background, which has allowed us to really focus on making an Islam that feels authentic to Muslims. The average non-Muslim player might not notice that a faith has an incorrect tenet, but for us, we really want to make an Islam that feels authentic and real to play in.
Being a Muslim definitely helps, as there are certain inaccuracies which really stick out even when one's historical and religious knowledge isn't sourced from academic texts. Although every responsible history modder has to be objective in their approach, I noticed that in the base game, holy sites for many Muslim denominations particularly Shia ones, did not make much sense. The use of Baghdad as a Shia holy site, for example, was not grounded in historical accuracy. This switch changed to the holy site of Karbala, which is an incredibly significant site and an obvious choice to represent a place of massive spiritual significance to Shia Islam. And while the base game's representation of Shia Islam was almost exclusively locked to Ismailism with the Fatimids, I focused on making groups like Nizaris, Imamis, and Zaydis more prominent by representing their historical populations across modern-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, which leads to a much more dynamic, diverse, and historically accurate experience. Now I'd like to talk about how history can and should be applied to mods, specifically how to balance granularity, or the level of detail that we want to include, with gameplay that is still enjoyable and doesn't break the game. One of the first things I implemented was increased cultural diversity in the regions of the Middle East and South Asia, to represent the complexity of cultures in and around the area. The decision, while being more historically accurate, led to a problem, and that was that a once uniform spread of cultures over a region was now divided into many smaller microcultures. And since the rate of unlocking innovations is directly tied to the number and development of regions within a culture, there arose a situation where the smaller cultures often consumed parts of neighboring cultures, and as a result, the development of these cultures lagged behind the rest of the world. And this was unacceptable simply because we were sacrificing an aspect of the game without actually making the gameplay richer. And ultimately, we decided to scrap the custom microcultures, but we are eagerly awaiting the culture overhaul to see if we can sensibly introduce these cultures back into the game.
A different example of having to accommodate for the base game systems is the fact that vanilla CK3 gives us a lot more schools of Sunni Islam compared to base game CK2. We have Ash'ari, Maturidi, and Mulawadi. While the splitting of Sunnism to various faiths isn't really historically accurate compared to the splits that occurred in Shi'ism, it allows us to sort of structure and model the rise of rival caliphates across the Middle East. In CK2, we might have done this with an anti-pope system, but we don't have that option in CK3. So for us, we can still make changes that make the game feel more historically accurate. In this case, we chose to make the Sunni succession doctrine view all other Sunni succession doctrine sharing faiths as righteous. This shows that Sunnism was a lot more cohesive in the time frame, while still letting us model this rise of rival caliphs as the game intended to.
Another feature where we tried to prioritize gameplay over historical accuracy was succession in our custom Iqta government. Historically, vassal succession in the Iqta system was mostly non-dynastic, with the king getting direct ownership of the land back until he gave it to someone else as a grant. An exception being the Buyids of Persia, where Iqta titles were in fact dynastic. Many other restrictions were placed on the Iqtidars that put most of the power in the hands of the liege. Implementing them in the game would make playing as a liege overpowered, with the vassals being not much of a threat at all. So it was necessary to tone down the contracts.
To add to the authenticity of the Muslim experience, special buildings have been utilized to great effect with this mod as well. When adding special buildings, I first focus in on areas that are neglected in terms of special building implementation. The Central Islamic world as a whole, compared to Europe, is unreasonably barren of special buildings in the base game. These buildings may actually not be exclusively Islamic in origin, and stumbling across these ancient but prominent religious sites, for example, reminds the player of the history of the region. Some interesting historical realms and their relationships with each other that were absent from the base games are also implemented, such as the Bargawata Confederacy in Northwest Africa, to name just one. And the 867 start date in particular has been paid special attention in terms of the vassals of the Abbasids and the Tulunids, who among other Islamic realms historically allowed the theocratic realms of minority religions to exist within their empires and work in tandem with the Muslim rulers to increase the overall stability of the empire.
I would like to talk about two approaches to emulating certain significant historical outcomes and events. One where you nudge the AI towards certain behavior versus one you just script it. In an open-ended and emergent game, the former is arguably superior, so we prefer that approach. Sometimes it's as simple as giving claims to and propping up certain overlooked historical characters, but sometimes you actually need to delve into the mechanics. For example, while working on the Seljuk invasion, I found out that no matter the quality and the quantity of the Seljuk troops, the initial war for Armenia would almost always end up in a stalemate, because the war AI, while sieging, wouldn't attack a smaller enemy stack which was besieging previously conquered territory, when it could easily crush it. Eventually, the Seljuks would lose or white peace as their troops would get depleted due to attrition, while the smaller Byzantine stack successfully keeps taking back control of its territory. Tweaking the war management AI to be more aggressive towards a smaller enemy and defensive towards their conquered territory leads to a much more realistic behavior, and now the AI was able to win the war even with a lesser amount of troops than Manila. And even after the war is won, Rome isn't scripted to form, but the AI needs to use the form room decision already present in the game. So we nudge the AI towards that decision and help it a little, but we don't outright script its behavior. And even when we go forward with scripting certain events, we make sure that they are triggered under realistic circumstances. For example, we plan to work on the rise of the Khurids and their invasion of India, but there are a lot of cases where a standard implementation would be unfair to a player who decided to play as the Ghaznavids, since the Khurids, being their westernmost vassals, can't really step into India without decimating them first. So what we have in mind is to make the Ghurid invasion dependent on certain conditions, which are inspired by historical realities that led to their rise in real life. So, if the Ghaznavids have a large, strong, prosperous empire, their vassals are happy, and the Ghurids are placated, they shouldn't have anything to worry about. But if they rule over a withering, divided realm governed by unruly vassals, the Ghurids will rise up, and they will end up invading most of the Afghan and North Indian region.
So with that, the team and I would like to thank you for listening to some of what Muslim Enhancement has to offer. We are dedicated to continuing to support this mod and giving the Islamic world the love and care that it deserves, and are excited to see how this mod will evolve in the future.
I think we should start with asking why people use history-themed mods for Crusader Kings. In my opinion, the reason is because the game's developers have to balance between players who want a more fantastical, unpredictable experience versus players who prefer a grounded sandbox that simulates history. While the developers have to focus on both groups of players, history mods can fill in and cater to players who want more historical accuracy in their game. The next question then is, what is historical accuracy? A lot of people use the term historical accuracy, but I prefer the term historical authenticity. History games, in my opinion, are pretty terrible at educating people about academic history, because by their nature, these games have to abstract complex historical processes. However, that doesn't mean we can't add in elements into our mods into the game that give people a flavor or a taste of what the past was like. This is what I mean by authenticity. On a related note, while I was working on my history degree, I had a professor who told me that history is not the same thing as the past. History is how we interpret the past. So in my opinion, history mods should ideally interpret the past by adding a touch of humanity to the game and teaching us about the past and how people back then were people as well. They were just people in a different cultural and historical environment. One thing you realize more and more as you study academic history as opposed to pop history is the limitations of your knowledge, because there's just so much history out there. So when it comes to researching for mods, it's better to find good scholarly sources, in my opinion, versus something like a random blog post or even Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia, for instance, it's fine for getting an introductory overview, but it won't provide the deep level of information if you want a good idea about the history of the topic you're interested in modding. Contrast Wikipedia with the works, the articles written by scholars who've studied their topics for years. Whether they're historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, and so on, they know what they're talking about. So it may take more work to do all that research, but it's worth it if you want to better represent history. So now on to the actual process of researching history. An important thing I always do is to save my sources. And because I might need to reference them in the future, even if I took notes. So for instance, I did research for a Brittany-themed content for my Rice mod many years ago for Crusader Kings 2, but I did not save the sources. So when I adapted it to Crusader Kings 3, a number of players pointed out some potential problems in my research, but I had nothing to refer back to double check my work. So at the minimum, when I do my work now, I always keep a list of all the sources I use. So it's literally just a copy-pasted list of links to sources, for example, but it works. So the next question is, where do I find sources? Scholarly sources can be hard to find online to an extent. Obviously, if you have access to an online journal or you attend a university, it might make things easier. But there are ways to find academic sources even if you don't have those options. A trick I learned is to add PDF or edu in quotation marks to a search engine when searching for information. This will sometimes provide you with academic articles, papers, even books instead of less reliable non-academic sources. Additionally, being more specific in your search can help. So for instance, put in historical figures, cities, cultural ideas, technical terms, wherever you can into the search engine. It'll narrow down the results so you can kind of cut out all the useless stuff. And once I find some good academic articles, obviously I'll have to read through them. But while reading through them, I try to think about what interesting elements I can use in my mods. For instance, sometimes I'll discover some really cool historical fact or trend or concept or idea, but realize it isn't something I can really adapt to my mod that easily. So in those kinds of situations, maybe I'll mention it as a flavor event, or maybe I won't be able to use it at all. Like any medium, there's only so much I can include in my history mods. So I have to decide on which aspects of history I want to emphasize and which ones I don't, even if the stuff I don't focus on is genuinely interesting or important. So for instance, I like touching on history that is lesser known or has scholarship that shows how complex things can be and how it's nothing like pop history. For instance, when I added my Socotra flavor pack to my rice mod, I was looking into the history of the Indian Ocean. I learned that contrary to the common portrayal of this region as a relatively peaceful arena of trade and commerce until the arrival of the Portuguese, that it was full of violence and conflict, particularly when different kingdoms or rulers would work together with pirates to mutually benefit against their foes. So I decided that piracy would become a major feature of the Socotra flavor pack. So for instance, you could decide to work together with pirates, take a decision that would add a nice little pirate building chain to your capital. I then even added some extra bonuses to the island of Socotra, which was famous for being kind of like this hideout for pirates. So I added this decision where you can hire pirates to fight for you if you rule Socotra, but taking that decision would have consequences. So all in all, it's a nice way to showcase the vibrant, diverse, but also violent history of this part of the world, and one that not a lot of people might know about. Another issue when determining what to include and what not to include, or how to include it, is when to take compromises on creative license or gameplay versus historical accuracy. And one issue with that is how to interpret historical events, because sometimes even academics may have conflicting theories about how things work. And that doesn't mean one theory is necessarily more wrong or right than the other. So for instance, for my Haran flavor pack for rice, which focuses on the pagans in the medieval city of Haran in northern Mesopotamia, when I was doing research for this, I learned that there was a theory that the pagans of Haran continued the lineage of the pagan Neoplatonist Academy of Athens, which itself claimed intellectual descent from the original Platonic Academy in Athens. So I went with this interpretation to make things more flavorful, but the problem is it may give some people the wrong impression that this is the one true theory, the one true interpretation of how the Haranians were. But that was a risk I was willing to take. Similarly, sometimes I have to do these weird workarounds to ensure a more historical result. So for instance, when I added the pagan religion of Haran into the game, I gave it the Islamic syncretism tenet, which kind of doesn't make sense historically speaking, because the pagans of Haran still consider themselves a pretty distinct tradition from Islam. But however, the reason I added this one in was because the pagans of Haran were seen by Islamic scholars and leaders as kind of like this as exemplary group of people who were really intelligent, really learned, just knew a lot of things. And the Haranians were very involved in the Islamic world. They were accepted, tolerated, even praised. So I wanted to represent that somehow. And my way of doing it was adding in the Islamic syncretism tenet, because otherwise the Muslims in the game would hate on the Haranians. Whereas now with this tenet, people can, if you are a Haranian pagan, you'll be able to interact with Muslims in a more friendly manner. On that note, one thing I do, at least with my mods, is to provide context for the history. So in Viet and Rice, for instance, I have what I call context tooltips that provide information on the history that inspired some events and decisions, especially those that seem nonsensical at first. So for instance, I had one event in Viet where your character comments that orange-colored carrots is a really weird idea. A tooltip explains how carrots were often not colored orange in the medieval period. It's a more modern development. Anyways, to conclude, in my opinion, it's important to be wary of unintentionally perpetuating stereotypes or problematic historical misconceptions when creating these mods. Like I said before, I think that portraying history in video games, movies, books, whatever you have, it's always going to be flawed, whether due to the limitations to the medium, your own biases, or whatever else there might be. But that doesn't mean we can't do the best research we can and try our best to genuinely represent the people of the past within these limitations. So all in all, I'd say that history mods for me aren't just a way to improve history in a game or to learn about history. It's also a way to respect and remember those who came before us and all that happened to them and all they went through.
Now, folks, that was the wonderful deep dive into the time machine. I could almost call it a podcast, right? But it is more a presentation, almost academic, as it was pointed out before. There was a lot of information in there, and I think what came across the most was just how much these people care about authenticity. And that is always nice to see. There's a lot of value to that. There's a lot of quality in that. And I think, I honestly followed the chat. I read the chat, so I think, more people than one would think are appreciating that, right? So that's a very cool sort of content. Now, what is coming up next? We only have basically 2 segments left. The last one is just us having a good time, celebrating. Man, these glasses, I swear to God. We have the Mad Majapahit ModJam ahead of us. The mod is finished. The mod is done. The work has ended. They need to take their hands off. There's nothing to say, nothing to do. This is what it is. And we're going to take a look at the mod. I'm going to do that with the aid of somebody that I'm going to talk about in a second. Afterwards, we have the main event, of course, and I just want to mention that, of course, when it comes to the main event, we have Princess of Darkness, including Way of Kings. We got, you know, something with a bold man that had bold kid that has like an arrow on their head. Then we got Lord of the Rings, and we got a Game of Thrones at the end. There are some others that I didn't name. We're gonna get to that in a second. There are some others that I didn't name that are in there. But I know everybody's waiting for a Game of Thrones, so I just wanted you to know that that is at the end of the main event. Now, I will tell you, the wait will be worth it. If you are here for Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones only, then please stay with us, because there is a lot of content coming your way, not just of all these other amazing mods, but also of Game of Thrones. I have to tell you, Game of Thrones is giving away so much content. Like, there will be a lot of quality in there, okay? What we will get to see here today. Let me just real quick change something here. Music seems a bit loud to me. There we go. Alright, how's the stream doing, by the way? No dropped frames. Oh, that is amazing news. That is great. Alright, why don't we jump into the... No, actually, we can't jump into the... It's looking a little dark in your room. Oh, let me turn on the light. It's so light. My glasses reflect like crazy. Listen, here's the thing. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank every single one that is watching. Every single one that has donated, every single one that has supported this project in one way or another, be it the YouTube moderators, be it the modders, be it people that are editing for the modders, and so on and so forth. I in particular want to mention Castox, of course, who has done so much. The background that you see, the frames that you see, that's Castox. This event would have not been possible without Castox, and what's the point of the event? Of course, there's a point to that. I mean, it's you seeing amazing mods, don't get me wrong here, right? But you know what it also is? It is also the fact that we have raised 2,050 euro for the cause. And that is honestly pretty stunning. That is honestly pretty crazy. I want to say thank you to all of you, to all the people that made it possible that we're here now. These glasses actually, they legit. I should have bought other glasses or something. Happy Freedom Day, by the way, if you weren't aware. It is now time to take a look at Majapahit ModJam. Or should I say that this should rather be called Majapahit ModJam? Because I am here joined by Matt. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Let me change to CK3. Boom, there we go. Matt is the voice from the off. Give me just a second here. I want to... Seriously, the music is very loud. You can take over in a second. Here we go. Alright, you can take over. Oh no, actually, you can't take over. I have to take the back. I need to see the YouTube chat. Otherwise, I'm useless. There we go.
I mean,
okay.
you gotta keep an eye over there.
Yeah, you're good. So, what is this all about? Matt, let me tell you real quick. Let me tell chat. Matt is has been on the channel previously. Matt is a veteran content creator, if you will. Because Matt is very active on CK3 streams. You may know him. It's Matt Clohassie. You know, if you haven't seen him, then you aren't watching the right streams. Now, the thing about this is that this mod that we are playing was created within 3 days. And I say 3 days and it's true, but also, like, El Tyrannos, for example, our wonderful community flavor pack modder, worked for 30 hours. So, there's a lot of work in there. There's a lot of work in there. What this mod does is, it's basically a submod for the mod called Rajas of Indochina. Rajas of Indochina adds... well, Indochina. But it also adds the map sections that are Java. And we focus on Java. There is an extra bookmark. And that's where we're at. Why don't we take a quick look at it?
Here we go. I am definitely excited for this. Ooh. Turn off that Iron Man mode real quick before we ruin ourselves.
I think only one of them has flavor.
Alright, which one?
Flavor text. It's the Carta Negara in the center. It's a lot of flavor, as you can see. So what we had is we had a full team. We had like mapping. We had, from Lord of the Rings. We had Matt, amazing mapper, did a map panel here actually. We had El Tyrannos, of course. We had some events written. There's so much content in there. So just so you know, that's why there's this long a text for a mod created in 3 days.
I was about to say, like, making a mod in 3 days is like, of this scale, is going to be an impressive feat, I have to say. Like, I've seen, game jams and stuff before, but like a proper mod jam trying to get some feature up like this is definitely awesome.
They planned it out like crazy. I will say that. They only modded for 3 days, but they had a Google document, the length of, Something that surely shouldn't be legal, but it worked, because here we are. Let's take a look at it. So this is in 1280 actually, and I think we should not look at the rest of the map.
All right, let's hit start. Let's get in and have a look at what's being made up
This
there.
is a commissioned piece of art.
Lovely.
They got a loading screen. It's a watercolor painted, I believe. I'm not an art expert. I have no idea. There we go.
That is very impressive.
Oh my
okay,
God.
let's have a.
They have a
slow
unique
but sure
icon.
zoom
Oh my
out.
God. All right, let's.
Ooh, wow.
Did they fix all the map? Can we look at Europe for just a second? It doesn't look that bad.
It's a little horrifying. A little like looking here is a little bit of pain.
I love the pink Seljuks. Oh,
The pink Seljuks are a great look.
That's the perfect color. That is ideal. I like that a lot.
Oh, it's beautiful. All right, let's have a look at
Yeah, let's check it out.
See what we got. This is very impressive looking.
So I just want to mention though, they only did Java. Don't give them too much credit here, okay? Rajas of Indochina deserves credit as well. They only did the southern island.
They did this
Yeah.
but even then, let's have a look. Oh, we own a lot of land,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just noticed. 18 holdings out of 5
They skipped the
limit.
step. That's why it gets laggy if we zoom in a bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, oh,
Can,
dear
can we
God, so
spam
many
hand
map
out
icons.
stuff real quick, like to just one person? Oh, there's the music. Oh my God, there is the music. Are you hearing that? I believe it does not get me copyright strike. I believe this is from a proper, like
I have faith.
a proper. I can't remember this. I actually was on the website. It's like they go around basically just want to spread the culture because this is actual Indonesian music. So that's what this is.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, I love the custom little holdings you can get.
Oh, yeah,
like,
wait,
I haven't got
you know
the
what?
controller plugged in, so you can.
Oh
take
yeah,
over
look
to
at that.
zoom
I
from
can do this.
cam.
We haven't even see. I'm gonna do it real quick.
Oh,
Don't look at
wow.
that. Don't look at that. You see that? You see that? Don't look at that yet.
No,
Okay?
I don't. You moved too quickly. I didn't see nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Don't look at it. Okay. So we got these little houses here. I believe these are bishoprics. They are created just by the modders. I do think, and I'm not entirely sure here because I don't know what came over from Rajas of Indochina, but I think these are also made by our team. I think at least. Again, I don't want to go like Rajas of Indochina, get dunked on. But look at that. That is some. We got these traditional houses. Oh, and yep, that's what happens if you look up too high. The game is like, don't do that, please.
Don't show up all of our flaws. No.
I will say, look at this beautiful flag. What a
That
flag!
is very nice.
Yeah, those
Very,
are temples. El
very
Turano
impressive.
says. So there you go. Now I'm gonna quickly. I'm gonna very cinematically pan over. Look
Oh,
at
the
this.
cinematics. Oh,
Look at this.
oh,
Wait, you know
look
what?
at
I'm
those
actually gonna-
models.
Look at this thing. Oh my God! It's the so this is, and I believe there's probably a special building here. So there's probably flavor, right, that we can read. But I think this is
Yeah.
the highest Hindu. Oh, is it? Oh crap! I see. I should have read they write so much in the Discord because they were so active in the last 3 days. I couldn't keep up. But they said this is either the tallest Hindu or Buddhist temple. I'm not actually sure, but it's one or the other. Look at this piece. Oh my God! Now there's another one.
Very impressive, and the music in the background as well is beautiful.
I don't actually know what this is. I have no. Okay. Can you do me a favor? Can you look for the special holdings or anything that gives
Yes,
away
we
what it
can
is?
have a
Oh, there we go.
look for the special building. There we go. This is the big temple.
The Prambanan temple is dedicated to the Trimurti, the Hindu, so it's Hindi, deities Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and is one of the largest Hindu temples. Oh, just one of the largest. I was wrong. In Southeast Asia. The temple design is based on traditional Vastu Shastra, the architecture of Hinduism. Oh, right. So they got a. I mean, then again. And now that I think about it, it's not even like that foreign to me because, like, I mean, clearly the Catholic Church has a certain style of building things, huh?
Yeah, Catholicism's got its own vibe.
The larger complex is separated into 3 zones: Boloka, representing the realm of mortals and demons; Bhuvaloka, representing the middle realm of holy people and lesser gods; and Svaloka, representing the highest and holiest realm with a jewel-like pinnacle of the temple; the Prambanan's Ratna, representing indestructibility. Very, very cool. Gives you nice bonuses as well. Look at that. We get holding tax. We
Yeah,
get
it's
monthly
pretty
renown.
nice.
Yeah, I got a
Nice
full...
boon for the holder.
Yeah, see, I gotta ask you real quick, when we're talking about modifiers, you likely did not see the result of the blind modding challenge, right?
I saw a little bit of it, but I had to go off towards the end, so
Right.
I didn't see. I saw some of the insane plus 500% modifiers.
Yeah, everybody, whatever spell you do, you just get, basically, you just kill everyone right afterwards with intrigue. This one, a bit more balanced. It's a bit more...
A little bit more.
Music is still... Okay, wait a minute. Let me tune down the music if possible. Give me a hot minute. I think we... Oh, I can turn on the master. There we go. Beautiful.
Nice.
Okay, we're back. What about the... I would... It's not a labyrinth. It doesn't look like a labyrinth, right? What
Yeah,
is
I'm
it?
not sure what it is. It's another temple.
Borobudur Temple. Made of 9 stacked
9
platforms.
That's a lot of platforms.
Topped by many stupas and panels depicting the life of Buddha, is iconic of Indonesia. The mandala-shaped design follows Javanese Buddhist architecture, blending the Javanese concepts of ancestor worship and Buddhist nirvana. The step pyramid base serves as a reminder of the mountain abodes of ancestral spirits, the 3 divisions symbolic of Buddhist cosmology. The realm of desires at the base, the realm of forms in the middle, and at the pinnacle, the formless realm. Holy moly, that's really, really cool, and they actually modeled it. Wait, is that okay?
It's got its own, I think it's got its own unique like art icon here as well, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think I've seen that anywhere.
I don't think I've seen that before. In
Let me check. Is this? No, I gotta ask her because like I'm looking at this, right? Where's the Buddha? Is he like? So I see the. Oh man, the platforms. This is so neat.
How close can you get before the 3D modeler cries?
No. This is all good. It's just if you look upwards. I see. You almost had me there. I almost said I can show you, and I was like, no, I will not. But look at that. Oh my god. So we got these amazing normal holding models. We have these 2 models for that, and something that was also done by the team was they actually overhauled the map of Java itself. So the terrain is also created by the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. Like, especially, like, I was not expecting there to be this much, like, insane level of models and terrain detailing over, like, 3 days, to be honest. This is really impressive. Shows what happens when you get a bunch of passionate nerds and throw them at something over a weekend and say, do it.
See, that's the funniest thing. They actually said themselves do it. They themselves were like, we want to do that. We want to... So that honestly, I it's really funny to me. When we started planning ModCon, obviously we needed ideas, and not a single panel idea actually comes from me. Everything was like the modders went, I want to do that. And this is one of them. They themselves said, let's kick it. Now, I do want to bring our attention to one thing here. Is there something on the screen that you think doesn't belong into the game? By which I mean, it isn't vanilla. That's where I'm coming from.
Wait, what do you mean?
There's something on the screen right now that isn't normal. Like, except, you know, outside of Java.
Except all of the land that we're in and...
Something else, okay? It's something visual. Oh. It's very easy to spot. It's very easy to spot.
Really testing my skills of observation now. I can't believe you do this to me. Oh god, nothing jumps out. The UI looks fairly normal. The map looks pretty normal with some nice custom assets. What am I missing that's gonna make me cry at the end?
No, then... See? No. I actually have questions about which mod in the mod showcases so far made you cry the most, but no, this one will make you happy, because this one makes everyone happy.
I was about to say, it sounds like a threat so far, like, what don't I see? Oh god.
No, it's very positive, I was more saying.
The custom trees, at least, are something that very much...
No, I
offer unique assets.
It might actually be, I don't even know. See, I don't do... Like, I've done some event modding and stuff, like some really basic stuff, but never like any visual modding. So like if you put different trees into a game, I will be like, I did not notice that. But what I mean is, just for the record, I'm just talking about the fancy crown that we're wearing.
Oh, the beautiful crown? Yes.
Absolutely. I was not trying to see it must have sounded they wanted to scare
I was so I was like, what am I not being caught out? I was like, no, I see the beautiful cool new 3D models from El Taranos of the portrait out.
Why don't we check them out? We got the full screen barbershop installed as well, meaning we can go full in. They are, last time I checked this mod, they were actually also on the top of the list. So there is clothes and there is headwear. So the shirtless variant, then the nobility and the royalty variant is so that the different people, so the kings and then normal nobles and then the commoners wear different things. If we, and you know what, I can actually, let me real quick, let me type, I think I forgot already how you gain prowess. Let me just, this is a fancy cheat mod real quick. Prowess.
I think it's
that's not how you do it. Add prowess?
Change _ prowess.
Change. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, perfect.
See, I remember my cheats.
Oh no. Oh,
The 2 underscores.
Right, okay. Look at this.
Oh, look how buff he is.
These golden rings right there are like 5 kilogram each. This man is an actual machine.
This man is, he is a buff man from Java.
But yeah, these were made by El Turanos, of course. Some amazing work there. We got the nobility headwear and then the royal crown right there.
Nobility is nice, but that crown is, it's too impressive, man.
Yeah, can you zoom in on the crown a bit? Can you...
Let's pretend, yes, there we go. Oh.
It's very easy to use. Long Game Short made this mod, the barbershop.
I know, I've used it a little bit when I've done some streams of my own, but I haven't, I spend most of my day looking at work in progress things.
Right. Look at what I always love about this, and he actually had a panel for this yesterday where he in full explained, and I gotta say, like, after listening to that panel, I personally went, it sounds doable, understanding 3D modeling and that sort of stuff, but at the same time, actually getting this to look like metal and then having these little spirals on top of the knobs, that's crazy. This was just the start of it, of course. This was the first asset he made.
It's always fun when, like, I love it when, like, 3D modelers, even our artists internally on CK3, like, they explain, like, their thing and they make it sound so simple, and every time you're still amazed. And on, like, the flip side, like, you can explain, like, a programming or scripting thing, and they're like, yeah, no, I have no idea, it's all magic.
Yeah,
like,
that sounds very familiar.
Confused and in awe of what other people do.
Can we zoom out as far as possible? Or no, actually the second to last stage. Yeah, there we go. So if you change the clothing, you will also see the patterns change, of course, becoming much more. Oh, wait, is it legwear? Is it legwear? Did he actually? Oh, he actually separated it. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh,
there you go.
Look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, the patterns, the material get much more simple. This is straight up insanity. That this is in this mod. If we go to a woman, we can check out. We need to go into our own barbershop so we can. Switch? Yeah, so we can. No, you can just with a full screen barbershop, we can actually close anyone. So, but you got to be in their barbershop. So close this one, and then just right click on our player air, for example. Yeah, there we go.
Wonderful.
I use that. I play multiplayer games these days with with old man Mordave and award-winning Witch streamer, and we do sometimes dress our characters in without the other person noticing. But look at that. Here's
change how they're looking.
Here we got the.
Looks so good.
Yeah, look at that. It's just absolutely great what has been done here by just the 3D area. Yeah, look at that. Oh my god.
That is a very nice hat. Absolutely
absolutely crazy. Just how much these assets are like. It's just so much. And to be fair, again, if any of you, okay, anybody watching, if Matt at any point says I want to become a 3D artist now, I want to change that, please do not work 10 hours a day every day, okay? This was an exception.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a lot of modeling time.
But yeah, so this is the visual stuff. Now I do know that I think the culture and religion are done. I think the religion is just basically Hindu because that was the majority straight up at this time, which is just Shaivism. Yeah, it's just normal stuff. But I do believe they got their own culture. I don't think that they have their own things that they can innovate. But they got Javanese, they got Sundanese, and they got Balinese, I see, and Maduris I also see. And then down there, what is that? It's a tiny Sasakanese. Never even. I honestly, I don't know even what that is. I must admit.
It's just been so long since I've seen the old culture screen, you know.
Oh, come on! Oh my, you know, I need to ask you a question, and I hope that very specific people are watching. Do you think that mods such as very old Kings 2 will be impacted in their culture mechanics by the culture rework?
I think they'll be impacted, but I'm hoping mostly for the better. It's going to be, probably a decent amount of rewrites depending on how finished their systems are, but I think it should hopefully impact them for the better of having proper support for these dynamic cultures as opposed to having to pre-script a bunch of special ones.
There we have it. This the question that I asked you is just the standard. It gets asked maybe 10 times a day in the Discord, so this question is now answered officially. This is the Thane is in chat, so he saw it. Perfect. Now, there is a decision, at least one, that does exist, and it's a very long one. I don't think we. Oh, and there's another one. Oh, okay. No, before we do the decision, go into the council.
Okay, let's have a look. See our council.
I don't know whether it's working. If you look at the Spy Master, can we open the Spy Master's barbershop? It doesn't look like it displays what I'm. Oh, right. Can we go for Spy Master pose on the left?
Ooh,
How do I? Maybe
yes.
if one of the models, El Tyrannos is in the stream, but I don't. So this doesn't. So oh wait, is this? Does this pose only pop up in the event chain? Okay, let's do the event chain. Go back to the decisions. Let's see whether the pose comes in there.
Alright, which event chain do we want? We've got
It's this one.
this one.
Yeah.
Go to the temple and learn the legend of the cursed Chris of Mpu. Alright, let's hear this tale. In the temple of Indonesia, you can hear the rise of this. Oh wow, this is.
See, I have to warn you right now.
Curses and karma, I am terrified already.
I have to warn you right now. This is a very because it's basically lore, real life lore. Okay.
Real life lore.
It's a lot of stuff, and I will say, I personally don't want to spoil it for players because this mod will go live. It will be in the Steam Workshop, right? But
You can
yeah,
leave it as a little teaser. I've
What
heard
you-
enough of this tale.
exactly. But the thing about this event chain though is that this comes directly from CyberXCan, who is doing Viet and Rice, which are and it's so fascinating to me. So he was in the panel earlier in the history panel, and it's so fascinating to me because it makes an event basically out of saying, what did carrots look like in the Middle Ages, right? Where it's like, what do I eat today? And you know, oh, I think the actual selection for that event that you can make is, what other funny stories are there? Or carrots that are orange, because apparently carrots weren't orange. Now, I don't actually know that, but oh, oh, okay. Wait, he did the spring decision. Yeah, let's go and visit a spring in Majapahit.
Marcel, I've heard enough of this. Not spoiling
Yeah,
it for
get
everyone
out of
when we
here.
get there.
Cursed blades, not on my watch. Here we go.
I refuse these curses.
Let's read
I'm
it.
gonna go and relax and cleanse myself. How
Yeah.
nice. Perfect at the end of the week.
These waters are healing even sacred qualities, and they have been visited by some nobles and royals in the past.
What should we do?
Jaladwar.
We're gonna cleanse myself spiritually.
Oh yeah. Honestly, it's funny to me yesterday as well in blind modding. Even when people make mods where it basically goes, we don't have to balance this, technically speaking, right? Maybe you should, but you don't have to. They still are like, you only get 70 piety.
Yeah, still want to scale it up. Gotta keep it nice and somewhat balanced.
Absolutely.
You know? I like that you've got the wild goose chase on as well.
No, but that is I can deactivate that. There you go. I use a mod that is so good I can activate that in the encyclopedia. It's so good. I just press F9, F11, F9, and I'm good to go.
Putting a little button inside of here.
It's so good. Seriously, that's such an amazing mod for people like me that need to like constantly record and you know switch around. But either way, we have one more decision in the top right. I can spy it. Form the Majapahit Empire. We need to have more fame. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna press the funny buttons, and when you click another button down there in the console. No, just the prestige button. You don't cheat enough, Matt. You don't cheat enough. I can tell. So why can't we? Oh, we're missing
Need
money.
money as well.
All right, there you go.
What a rich empire we are.
Placeholder. Oh, but there you go. Oh, I love the coat of arms. What the hell?
That is beautiful. We are looking pretty swanky there.
Oh, and we have the blade as our coat of arms for our house. I did not even realize this. With Chris in hand.
Chris in hand. Amazing.
This is actually so good. I'm actually so if we zoom out a bit, we see again. I want to stress this for people that like came in just now. This mod is super in-depth Java. We have 3D assets. We got assets for the buildings. We got special building assets. We got lore. We got cursed blades. We got different decisions. We got events and so on and so forth. And you can play this either right now, or I think they still want to like do some bug fixing before they actually push it up, right? Because like it works for right now, but can't give that to the people. That's impossible.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit more, polished and shiny before the people get a hold of it.
And this will be playable as a submod to Rajas of Indochina, because if we zoom out, then we see that this isn't a normal CK3 map. This goes a bit further. This is a
very much not.
Also, this is a bit of a. I mean, it's 1280, so it's a very different start date as well. Again, Europe. Let's not, let's not worry too much. Not hungry. Wait, what is even in Eastern? What? Is that the Golden Horde in Transylvania? It is. Oh.
Border gore tastes so good.
Oh, that is beautiful. But either way, oh, the mod is live on the workshop right now. Wait, can
Hey,
I?
nice.
Wait, I gotta take control real quick. I wanna link it in chat if possible. There we go. Yeah, there it is. The mod is live. Let me
It's looking good.
link it. Yeah, look at this website. They actually
The
got
custom
all
art
the
on the
features.
icon is very
Gonna
nice.
leave a like and a favorite, and you know how it is. That's what you gotta do. You got all the 3D assets, the story. Let me see. Did we miss something? Ooh, travel from the Arabian lands. Okay, I don't know how to unlock that. I will admit. But here, look at this. Look under your seats. The mod for everyone. There you go. Yeah. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. So, with this Majapahit, Matt, I have to ask you, Matt. When it comes to making something like this, did you think that? I think there were 7 modders. I could be wrong. Did you think this would even be remotely possible?
I mean, I had faith that they were gonna deliver something pretty impressive, but I have to say the you know the 3D assets and the custom work and the event chains is definitely. I was not expecting it to be this much.
Oh, they
over the
got 2
course of
swords
3
on the
days.
other on the other kingdom. They also have 2 swords on the coat of arms. Wait. Can we real quick go into Dachi mode? I wanna feel this mod up right now. I wanna figure out whether they got custom. Two are definitely custom, but I think the others are
Yeah,
randomly
these
generated.
definitely
But they fit, right? They fit just in. That's how CK3's generator works after all. That's the beauty. What is the? Oh, we are the Empire, so we don't even need to check the Empire map mod. Now I have another question, and I know there's already one mod that is on my mind that is probably your answer, and that is the question: out of all the mod showcases, not this one because this one is obviously amazing. We just talked about it. Out of all the mod showcases that you have watched, if you have watched any, which one?
Watched most of them over the weekend.
Which one was the best and which one was the worst? And I don't mean the worst. I mean more like where you went, oh my god. You know, like these reactions
Yeah, no,
exist.
I feel you. Well, that's like that's sort of the thing I love the most with the mods is that like it doesn't matter what I think. Like I'll tell you which
Right.
ones, of course, but like the beauty of mods is that you get to take whatever we make on the game team and sort of change it to fit how you want. Be that taking it in some direction of fantasy, direction of expanding into a different time period, or part of the world, or doing a deep dive into one area. Like you can really take it wherever you want. Like favorite, I'm not sure. Like there's been so many good ones. I mean, I'm always a sucker for a good total conversion, like a fantasy thing. So I always enjoy like After the End, Elder
Oh, yeah.
Kings, all that sort of stuff is always tickles my fancy very well. I mean, the one that gave me the most deep pain in terms of like the design of CK3 that I love and work with on a daily basis, it's gotta be the Pops. I'm so sorry.
Sinews of
Sinews
War.
at War.
Right.
It looked so good, but
It's amazing.
It killed my character-centric heart.
I see. I saw you in chat during that one, and I felt that one was coming. But I also thought that it might be a close second with Ave Maria, because as amazing the idea is, I know that you're not that hot on the East Roman Empire.
I mean, my love and hatred of the Byzantine Empire is it swings back and forth between how loud the community is about it. I hate it more when they talk about it more, and I hate it less when they leave it alone. Because it is a very interesting and special place, but I just can't bring myself to love it as much as some people do. I know it's heresy, but I think it's been some very impressive work with Ave Maria. Like it takes it in definitely more historical based direction. Some of it's in terms of like tedium, I can imagine, maybe more than I would love, with having to keep track of all these people. But I mean, also like the pure amount of research and dedication behind it is insane.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, and I want to make that clear in case anybody gets it wrong. I don't think anybody does, but I really do just want to point out, we weren't just shit-talking mods right now. What we were more saying is, there is such a incredible variety of mods, right, that we're looking at stuff that will never, like some stuff it just doesn't appeal to you. That's just the way it is, but it can still be insanely impressive. And I think
like
Seniors of War hits that on the head.
like it's like so much with mods, as I like said at the beginning, is like it's the beauty of it is that you can take it in any direction,
Yeah.
even if it's not something that we want, you know, right? Like the idea of like having this like deep, you know, population and stuff and migration and things, it's not what to us at the core of Crusader Kings is about. But if you can mod that in and make it work and be performant, more power to you. I mean, that's super impressive. Like the fact that it's gonna be able to simulate all of that through just the scripting language, presented in a nice UI, and not melt someone's CPU is amazing work. And it definitely opens up that avenue of like a deeper, you know, simulation of, you know, the economy than, you know, what CK3 provides currently.
Yeah, it's definitely something where a different road can be traveled just by virtue of, you know, CK3 being this moddable. I hope that of course continues, but you know, that is something to be seen in the future. I mean, it's difficult to say. I know that it's always on the mind of the devs. I mean, I actually remember so vividly reading that gigantic Royal Code dev diary, where basically everything was like laid out, and a big focus was, yeah, we're looking at, you know, how to implement this in a way that is as moddable as it gets. And I you know, especially in the framework of ModCon, that's amazing news for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, our aim with like pretty much every feature we implement is to strike that balance between, you know, the feature that we want it to be and the constraints we have with, you know, making it open and moddable. And, you know, especially with the moddable UIs that we've added, you know, with like CK3 in the engine in its current form, opens up a lot of avenues of people being able to take what, you know, would be, you know, a good CK2 mod, but very, you know, difficult to approach or like, you know, a pain in the ass to implement and use, to being something that really can feel more integrated into the game, into the, you know, setup of our UIs and interfaces, which is, I'm always really excited when I see new mods integrate fairly seamlessly into features like that.
Somebody just said the mod switch to Primogenitor is still the best.
I mean,
I actually like
partition.
Yeah, no, I actually like it. But you know, it's like the fascinating thing about this, because and this brings us back to the topic as well, that there can be any given mod really that, you know, if somebody says I want this mechanic to change and they find a way to do it, then they can do it and they can publish it. But I will say that when it comes to partition, I feel that is, you know, everybody always is like, oh, you know, I married my sister and that sort of stuff. But I think the true essence that everybody overlooks of playing CK3 is the fact that for some reason everybody says I hate all of my children except one, and then, like, that is so cold. That is one of the, you know,
it's very brutal. Like the thing with partition, I find is always like the two sides of the coin is that, you know, like CK3 for right or wrong has a lot of, you know, people saying it's a bit too easy, which, you know, especially for the people that play so much of it, very true. But also, you know, one of the things that breaks up the realms historically and in the game is something like partition. But then people are like, oh, but I don't want that kind of difficulty though. I don't like that historical aspect. Give me the other ones, which is, you know, fair, because it does feel like a little bit of a punishment for playing. But,
right.
It's definitely hard to strike that balance. But it does breed the attitude of very brutal, I hate all children but the eldest.
See, but
like, I hate all children but this one, and I disinherit all of the other ones that are older.
The thing is, nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about so many other things of the cruelties of CK3, but everybody's like, yeah, of course I disinherit my other sons. What do you mean?
Yeah, you know, I always like to kill them when I can, you know, disinherit, good times.
Perfect, yeah. It's, so, okay, yeah, there we go. This is the Majapahit mod. It's live. And I gotta say, insanely impressive what has been done. We got these different cultures. We have the religion fitting. We have these amazing assets. We have, honestly, Java is looking insanely good. I really like the eccentric style chosen here for the mountains in particular, because that really, like, it puts the accents of the island, you know, like where you can actually get along and where you can't get along. Really, that puts it really into perspective, especially as somebody, honestly, I must admit, I don't think I've ever, like, looked at Java except in geography class in, like, 8th grade. No, that's really the only time.
I can understand that for a lot of people.
Absolutely great though. Look at these ads. Oh my god.
Very beautiful.
It even got like a used off sort of texture there. I do wonder how Matt, I think Matt the Lego Man did make this asset. I believe he mentioned it earlier in the chat. I do wonder, like, oh, I'm in the asset, how it actually was done like this. I mean, my god.
I mean, that's the as I know, like people will make a 3D model. I'm just like, I don't even know what black magic sorcery is this.
Look at these houses again down here. I really love it. You can see the stilts. Really, really neat.
Every single little one. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Matt, are you gonna be watching the announcement show today? I hear there's basically no mods, not even the. I think a Game of Thrones got cancelled actually. I'm taking it off the schedule, folks.
I will definitely be tuning in. You know, I said this to you earlier in Discord, but this is sort of like this weekend has been 4 years since I stopped modding myself and moved to Sweden and started working at Paradox. So it's been a very, conveniently timed gift to be watching this and sort of seeing the level that the community has grown and the insane level of projects that people are doing. Agot later today, Elder Kings, and After the End before.
Yeah.
All of the other mods coming together in between to make the community mod pack for historical stuff. All of these things it's been super great to watch and see such a community-led event come together like this.
I'm happy that like it fell on the same on that sort of day for you as well, because of course it's an event that like was crazy for us behind the scenes to plan. And I will also point out, by the way, that all the people that took it seriously that Game of Thrones is cancelled, it is not. it's going.
Oh
to
yeah,
be...
I saw some people. It's not. It's. He was joking, people. It's okay.
But actually, this reminds me, because we can use this for a quick flashback. When you were modding, how big was your team?
When I was modding back in like 2013, 2014, I stopped in 2017. The core of the team was like 2 or 3 people. We had some people coming in every now and then that would help out with a little bit, especially, the precious amount of 2D artists we could ever get. They were always short the supply for the modding community. But yeah, I mean, the main team of it was like 3 of us for about 3 or so years.
Damn.
There was a lot more before that, when the mod first started getting going. A lot more people helping build the foundation. And then, after I left, I know that some people came in and out, but I mean, at least getting out that like main initial releases up until like the quote-unquote 1.0, although I think the mod went on for many more years to like 2 point something.
Oh yeah.
Was like definitely a smaller team than people would anticipate. So it's interesting. It's going to be fun to see that the teams have gotten a lot bigger these days, which I found funny watching the panel talking about like the administration of mod teams, because they were saying things that absolutely all factual and make sense, but I just couldn't reconcile it with the fact that when I was doing modding with like our quote-unquote team, it was just like 3 of us chatting in Skype because we were that old. That's how long ago this was. We didn't even have Discord or anything. When people were talking about best practices of using Git and stuff like that had not reached that part of the modding community back then. We had a Dropbox folder where we had a giant changelog text file that we manually updated whenever we did a thing. So it's it's definitely nice to see that the processes have changed along with the size of the teams and the directions growing as well.
See, that's I actually, and I wish I had more time yesterday. Yesterday I was like, the schedule was so packed, but I really found, and I say this obviously from a position of really only interacting with the content, with the modding community from a position of somebody that plays the mods and somebody that showcases the mods on the channel. But I really, really think that it's crazy, and in like not a bad way, but it is kind of crazy that if you want to make your mod and if you want to make your mod a success, and who doesn't, right? Because you want people to enjoy the mod and to play the mod and to have a good time, you need to kind of think about marketing. I can't imagine that always was the case, but today, if you look at the mods that are being released for CK3, it was mentioned yesterday as well, there's this arms race these days. I can, this is from a bit behind the scenes. I hope none of the involved people are watching. They would know who they are. But basically, tooltips. Everybody, we all love the tooltips in CK3. We can click on things and then we go on and we just see anything that we need to know about it. There's the nested tooltips feature, and it's amazing. And I remember that the nested tooltips were insanely well done in one mod. And about a week later, after I covered the mod and I talked to other modders, and all of a sudden everybody goes, we need nested tooltips. We need
Yeah,
to.
it's very much. It's very interesting to see seeing one team will discover one thing and then be like, "Oh, everyone's like, oh crap, we could do this as well." Like, I think it also shows, a nice aspect of like, the community side of like
Yeah.
sharing these things as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Most teams are pretty open with like, yeah, we did this thing like here, and here's how you do it, and everyone's really open to sharing their innovations and new work.
It's really it's through like entirely positive, that this sort of situation has arisen. But I think that if you go back like 5 years, I think everybody kind of works on their own technology, especially because CK2 is much harder to mod something in. So a system designed for one mod really only works in that mod. But today it's like, oh, we code him.
I think it's also very much the fact that like, like it's become easier and easier to mod a lot of these games now, which is so there's, as you say, with like the need to market things a little bit with your mod, is that there's so many more mods on the workshop and on the forums, Reddit, ModDB. If you go back, even like there's so many platforms with stuff on. So if you need to, when you get out your new thing, you do have to make people kind of look at it. And with the old mods, that was way harder, and it was way harder to sort of share like modules and technology. Like when I worked in modding, like the only real like module of anything that got like shared over a lot was the old Dual Engine, and even that, by the time a year after it was released, it diverged in everyone's implementation so much. The CK2 Plus team had changed it up loads for their use, so had HIP. I mean, I changed it up along with Nucky for Game of Thrones after a while as well to be very different. So everyone sort of diverged where only really the core idea was similar any longer. But it's nice seeing so many of these sort of like reusable modules and ideas shared across different teams.
It's also something that I would like to highlight in terms of what the devs in particular do to make things possible. I mean, now that GUI is as moddable as it is, I vividly remember that for years and years and years, and even then when it was published, everybody, like, it wasn't that great. I don't want to diminish the work that was done on it, but implementing any sort of magic system in any sort of mod in CK2 was basically hell, because you would just open this long dialogue where you click on somebody, then you click open spellbook, and then you have every spell in existence listed out basically in this CK2 character interaction window. And these days, through what is possible and through how many mod teams are working on this sort of stuff actively and are going in and really changing things, I remember Elder Kings actually basically started out with this magic UI. It works, And it's
I
just
also
like,
remember,
what?
like, if you think further back, even with CK2, before the rework of the right click on character menu happened as well, where you could like script and custom ones, is that it would not even be a list of all of them. You would have one button that would open an event, and you would have 3 options at a time because you were limited to 4, and it would just be next event, next event, next event, next event, going through all these huge lists. It was definitely nice when I arrived here and started working at Paradox to see the new UI system. I was like, oh, thank God. It's way more extendable. And then, I worked on the scripted UI framework, a little bit inspired after Hoy did it, and I managed to cobble something together. There's it works with the new CK3, the like Clausewitz GUI system. And I'm so glad to see so many good things have come out of it in the end, because my initial work in progress test very much just basically proved the concept. So I'm glad that it turned out with people having to be able to make mods that kind of fit in instead of having events with 500 options or 300 decisions about all your spells.
It was so good. Yeah, I mean, even CK2 did it, right? CK2 went want to go on a... Oh, I mean, technically CK3 still does it. What the hell is up with that? If you choose a pilgrimage target, you just get a couple of options, and then it says click for more. Come on. But anyway,
I know some of that stems from like the general content rule is that you still shouldn't have more than like 4 options. I think. Just because like if your event needs more than 4, you've probably written a bit of a questionable event that has like that much stuff. But I think for things like picking a pilgrimage site or something, it's probably something we could, do a little UX polish there and either give you a better list or make the decision, let you pick from where to go or something.
See, I just want to highlight something. That here we go. I just want to highlight when it comes to the end of this, I also go around basically and I look a lot at very different games that are grand strategy, and I'm not going to name any names because they're a lot of hard work in any of them. But what is very apparent, and especially with this throwback towards the topic of the interface and how it works even in CK2 itself, and then in relation to CK3, the tech that has developed in terms of how do you do these sort of interfaces, what works, what doesn't work, in the last 10 years is actually pretty insane.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of like internal as well as external sort of like a revolution on sort of trying, how do we implement a lot of these things. CK3, when it started development initially, like a lot of the core goals from our tech lead was like, what was everything that sucked to work with, both for us mainly, but also modders, and like how can we just redo most of these things, be it from the way the scripting language is used and was. Like, if you think that, I'm sure that some of the modders will sass me for this one, but like the inconsistency and difficulty of use, if you think like CK3 is bad, like go back to like CK2 or EU4, God forbid, even earlier on, then there was a lot of difficulty there. And then same with, the interface and, UI scripting and layouts. So much of it was so much harder to use and so much handled in like hard codedness. So being able to move a lot of those things into the tools of our artists and content designers, and then by virtue of that, the modern community, was definitely a core aspect and goal of how we wanted to make games going forward.
In that context, I want to thank you for being here and for doing the work that has been done on CK3 that makes something like ModCon even possible, by making it so that the people have tools to work with, have potential to work with, and I just want to say thank you, and that I'm excited to see just what can actually be done with the Royal Court in terms of modding. I mean, honestly, the cultures... Listen, if we get into that, we'll never stop talking, because...
I was about to say, you could go on for another couple of hours with that one.
Yeah, no, let's not. So, thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be a little part of this wonderful weekend.
Thank you for coming on, and... I will talk to you later, possibly. Seeing how things go.
You're not passed out and tired and dead from the end of this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I know I'm through basically, but we're almost there. So, thank you for coming on, and I will see you. Bye bye.
See ya,
folks. And with that, we are returning to the last couple of segments of ModCon. Holy crap! It's almost over. This was Matt. Just so you know, Matt used to be a modder for a Game of Thrones in CK2, then became a programmer, actually became a content designer first. If you are interested in it, he was on the channel actually and detailed his journey into Grand Strategy. He's now a programmer on CK3, and that's what he do be doing. There you go. Now, I just want to clarify, by the way, if you talk about piracy in my chat, you will be banned, because it is the work of people. Whether you do it, I can't influence that, but I can influence you talking it. That is not a good idea. You don't want to do that. Secondarily, it's the main event. Honestly, I feel nostalgic for some reason, because I'm never gonna be clicking these buttons again. You know this? You realize this? This is like everything is configured on my Stream Deck, and it's the last time that I'll have to configure it. Oh my god. We're gonna have Princess of Darkness, Way of Kings, Avatar, Lord of the Rings, a Game of Thrones. There's some other couple mods before, like within these sort of. I only gave you almost, I gave you more than half of the mods that are in today's main menu, if you will. I'm excited, and I gotta tell you right now, and I mean this, you should be excited too. And I can say that for anybody that is excited for everything but Game of Thrones, and for everybody that is excited for just Game of Thrones. What we have today, as my voice fades away, what we have today is going to be special. Trust me, there's going to be a lot in there. Let me just real quick check. See, I haven't checked in a while. We are at 2,055 euro raised. Holy crap. That is insane. That is honestly insane. It takes a while to process that. That I'll be able to give that. Of course, in my suit, I will purchase a novelty check, a gigantic novelty check. I will go in and hand it over. It's going to be the first time that I will be leaving the house in this outfit, but we'll see how it goes. Now, today, the main event is coming close. Apotheosis will be happening in the second slot. I can actually give that away. The first slot belongs to something else. That is Princess of Darkness. Apotheosis will be in the second slot of today's main event. Yeah, no, you know, I actually need to like take a moment just to take in that ModCon actually worked out. You know what I mean? Like, we started this, we didn't know what the hell was going on, and now we're here. It somehow worked out. And we're going to be maybe doing it again next year. We're looking at the worst ModCon ever produced, because next year's will of course be so much better. But I think this has been pretty crazy. Folks, I will now leave you in the capable hands of Princess of Darkness. They have a video on new content. And I need some minutes anyway to take in that we're actually this close to the end. It's okay, listen. Princess of Darkness is one of the most amazing mods. I haven't yet covered it on the channel, and that has the reason that I am not too knowledgeable in the topic of the franchise, because this is, of course, the Vampires Bloodlines franchise that was purchased, or it's officially called World of Blood. Is it called World of Blood? It's not. World of Darkness. There we go. World of Darkness. But what I will point out before we even jump into this, that the mod Princess of Darkness is so massive to me, despite never having having deep breaths, right? Despite never having covered it, it is so big to me, because what they are doing is basically transfer the entire game from a map game into a true and only RPG. It's crazy. I mean this. You should check out the mod. It is genuinely insane. World of Darkness has a representation in Princess of Darkness that basically makes CK3 into a pure RPG. It is the most dramatic total conversion in terms of dynamics and mechanics that are introduced that I have ever seen. And I recommend that you check out the following Princess of Darkness video. Have fun.
Hello and welcome to Princess of Darkness ModCon demonstration. I am Thaumaturge, and today I will demonstrate some of the new feature and content that the Princess of Darkness mod has been working on. Vanilla legacies never quite fit vampires, so in this update we have added new legacies for vampires specifically. We have the 5 Ashen legacies, each one representing a sphere of mortal society which the vampires learn to control. From the Ashen nobles' control over nobles and kings and the feudal society, to the Ashen cult's idolization as blood gods for the kind. Each of those gives new powers, bonuses and MAAs to enhance your style of play. Another new feature is clan legacies. Each vampiric clan, that is, a bloodline or family of vampires who share a specific weakness and strengths or supernatural powers, now gets their own legacy representing the lessons influential members of that clan teach others. Each level is named after a character that is part of the clan. For example, the legacy of Japhet is named after my current character, Japhet. Some even give special powers, as we will see later. For example is Clan Toreador, which has their own unique legacy, complete with powers, perks, and bonuses. As mentioned before, some clans get special character interactions which add depth into their legacies. For example, we have the Cappadocian legacy, which includes a power to send your childer, which is your vampiric embraced child, as an advisor to another ruler. Your child will go as a counselor and try to improve the vampire's realm. If they succeed, they will get a good modifier for their realm, and the vampire ruler will owe you a boon, a favor. If they fail, the chosen target will suffer baleful modifiers and will hate you as a result, not to mention you will owe them for such disaster. Another game system that needed adapting was the duel system. We've added over 30 new duel moves to the game to represent vampiric powers and disciplines. From biting to blood sorcery spells, the vampires have a whole new way to fight now. Our greatest challenge was to make sure vampires had access to their duel moves even if they had low prowess, as normally the game gates abilities and duel moves behind prowess, but we wanted every vampire to be able to access their disciplines even if their prowess isn't the highest. Speaking of disciplines, we have begun a rework of them, adding a bunch of new ones and improving the existing. Today I will show you two of them: Obpenetration, the control of shadows, and Daemonion, exploitation of sin and demonic energy. The first, Obpenetration, is a power directly connected to the abyss, a pit of endless darkness and contempt. It allows you to do several things, from conjuring clouds of darkness that suck the life out of your opponents and bring you their vitality, to summoning armies of shades, to even summoning and conjuring a being made of shadow that resembles you in every way, sharing your strength. That being will serve you with all its power. The second discipline is the Daemonion, the infernal weapon of Clan Bali. It allows you to prey on sins and even virtues at high levels, twisting them into horrible habits and behavior. It can even allow you to force a target to confront the darkest parts of their personality. If they succeed, they will master their own sins and benefit from them. If they fail, they will succumb to darkness or fall into eternal sleep. This discipline provides much power to those who know how to manipulate and control others' weaknesses. Part of the new content we are introducing is the Antediluvian Hunt quest. The Antediluvians are the progenitors of VTM's vampiric clans, each one a veritable blood god. Each of them can almost destroy the world on their own. They have power, age, and blood potency, the things that make vampire fearsome, and each of them sired a clan that has global influence. Their blood offers you untold power, if you can grab it. Of course, this is easier said than done, as these are creatures who had millennia to craft fortifications, defenses, secrecy, and traps for intrepid adventurers. We will explore those challenges later, but for now, let's talk about the variety this quest has to offer. There are several antediluvians you can choose to hunt, each with their own powers, challenges, quests, and stories. In order to avoid spoilers, I will refrain from showing you the entirety of any single questline, but I will show you parts of some. Every challenge along this road is either challenging, difficult, lethal, dangerous, or costly. And there are a variety of challenges. Some can get you killed if you do not have the skill or strength necessary. Others require resources in great amounts to surpass. Yet others require a gentle, clever touch to solve the riddle. All of them can result in negative outcomes if you're not careful. Failing can be horrible. Beyond death, you can fall into your enemy's luck and become their servant. Even if you do succeed, there is no promise that victory is full. But if you do, you can become a god, and a slayer of gods as well. There is one clan, a family of vampires, that is known above all others as assassins and killers. They even have something called the Web of Knives, a network organization of assassins for hire. You can hire them to kill your enemies, and they demand gold or blood as their payment. Now, in the mod, you can take use of this web. In either side, you can either put contracts on people, which we will see later, or pursue contacts of your own. There is a new GUI, especially for people in the Web of Knives, which are currently Assamites or distinguished members from other clans who petition to the Assamites to join the Web of Knives. Only them, the members, can see this button, which is currently a placeholder until we have a picture. When clicked, it shows you the list of current targets in the Web of Knife and the reward offered for each one, as well as who hired the assassins to kill them. You can go after any of these people in any matter you choose: the murder scheme, war, imprisonment and execution, or even the new pursue contact scheme. But beware, for you are not the only one who can pursue contacts. Other assassins of the Assamite clan would also try to kill your target, so you should be quick if you want to claim the rewards. A new scheme, Pursue Contract, allows you to go after designated targets of the Web of Knives. You will hunt them down and start a single battle duel with them using the system we have explained before. If you succeed, you will win, killing the target and earning the pay. If you fail, you will die instead. When you complete a contract, you will be paid by the employer. If you are not of Clan Assamite, you will also have to pay to the clan directly. But if you are a member, all of the money is yours. Web. You can hire assassins to kill your targets for you, your enemies, your rivals. All you have to do is use the character interaction made for it. You can place reward based on how much you want the target dead and how much money you currently have. Rewards can change from 50 up to 5,000, a huge sum relevant only to killing Methuselahs and Emperors. You can place your bounty, and you will not pay until the target is dead, at which time you will pay the assassin. There is no question about it. If you find yourself wanting to fill the assassin blade as your own, you can do so, if you have the right moral caliber and the skills. And of course, you must have the ruler of the Web of Knives be amenable to your joining. If all of these are fulfilled, you will join the web and pay both a monthly tax and a part of your earnings as an assassin. When you put someone on the Web of Knives, AI Assamites will try to kill it. Also, every 10 years, if no Assamite had tried to kill a target due to a lack of proximity or opportunity, they will spawn an assassin based on the amount of money you offered. The more money you offer, the stronger the assassin will be, and they will try to kill your target. This is how it looks like if they succeed. You will pay them for killing your enemy.
And that was Princess of Darkness. And you know what? These glasses are actually hurting me. I am no longer American. Oh my god. This is what the world looks like. It all looks so blue and green. They have like a... It's already broken, by the way. They have like a pink filter. It looks like orange in the camera, I think. But yeah, there you go. That was Princess of Darkness. Princess of Darkness is a great mod. It is, mechanically speaking, utterly amazing. Absolutely outstanding what they have done. I'm incredibly impressed. Again, there may be some a bit of an accessibility issue, I guess, where you have to see, hey, you need to understand at least the basics of the world. But I will tell you, it is worth it. The mechanics are completely outstanding. Yeah, so I recommend you check that mod out. The Discord is right here. Boom. Now, next up is a mod that is on my personal huge fan list. I have covered this mod in the past. I've talked to the developers. I've seen all the love that they poured into that mod. I have talked about it. And it is something, of course, that is explored in different ways in terms of, you know, what is implemented, in terms of the area, I guess, or rather maybe the time period of the mod. But this mod is special because it's not just so much passion and love that is in it. It's also an absolutely insane amount of just pure quality. It's not out yet, but here's a bit of an update on the topic of You know what, I'll let it myself. You say it. Other me from the past. Folks, I'm OnePropBavarian, and I have taken a look at this mod here on the channel before, Apotheosis, the Hellenistic Age. This mod has been in development for quite some time and has some incredibly novel ideas. The mod is set in the year 275 BCE and puts you down in the very heartlands of the Greek world. Alexander's empire rose, fell, and is now being fought over by the remainders of the Diadochi. While the immediate successors to Alexander have since died, their descendants still fight their wars over the question of which of them will be allowed to be the one true supreme ruler over all of the Greek world. The mod has some insane quality contained within it already. Hagemon Autocrator Pyrrhus of Epirus, for example, as epic and truly authoritative this title sounds, leads a hegemonic allied realm. He may currently be recognized as the lord of the region, but his vassals see no necessity or God-given connection to his rule. Should his governance be lackluster or should he fail in protecting his allies, it would not surprise anyone if those that currently swear their loyalty to him were to leave his realm and try their best on their own. On the other hand, the very core of the Greek world is still very much dominated by city-states. While the height of their power for Sparta and Athens may be a thing of the distant past, governance is still an issue of local powers rather than an all-encompassing realm. With that, of course, come various forms of government types, not to mention that cities like Athens will be equipped with a completely new city-state interface in which the state of their government will be depicted. A ruler of one of these city-states will have to deal with corruption, democracy, and instituting policies that may displease some of the citizens, and should they fail to be a wise ruler, who knows what the consequences might look like. Indeed, it has to be said, this mod is incredibly ambitious in its systems, but it's not just that. Most of the landed characters in the mod are actually historical persons, and the modders have undertaken a journey of scouring obscure dissertations to find as many landed characters as possible, as well as finding a large amount of names for example, the Anatolian cultures. Menedemos of Eretria, for example, an important philosopher, is present. There is also Sostratos of Knidos, supposedly the architect or at least a financing force behind the Lighthouse of Alexandria. By now, the development of the map is mostly finished, as for example the terrain in Anatolia has also been finished, and on top of that even the development levels, so the economy of the map has been integrated. On top of that, even more faiths than the last time we looked at it have been created to allow for varied gameplay despite, of course, the Greek world fundamentally being less divided in its religious practices than, for example, the medieval world. The mod, at its current stage, oozes flavor left and right, and should make it rather easy to feel as though you found yourself in antiquity. Additionally, the mod has some of the most beautiful religious symbols, as well as coats of arms. They look absolutely perfect. Just gorgeous. Now, last but not least, the mod has also begun implementing gameplay decisions, such as the formation of the Kingdom of Bithynia and Sparta. All in all, progress is looking very nice, and the mod is even more beautiful than ever before. While it is at the moment unclear when the mod will actually release, I think that the progress made here since we last checked up on the mod is inspiring. Whenever this mod actually hits, make sure not to miss out on it. You can keep up with the mod by joining their Discord. Listen folks, I'm just gonna hit you with the truth. If you look at that map, and if you look at those coat of arms, and you don't find them incredibly well made, then you are blind. Got news for you. The doctor should have told you earlier. Got him, yet again. What comes next is a trailer that I haven't seen. So I either made, or at least watched all of the trailers, but this one I didn't have time, because it came in so late. I hope it's good. I know the person working on it put a lot of love, a lot of work into it. So I hope it's good. This is everybody's favorite mod. I actually feel like it's actually one of the mods that is very well understood as being, mechanically speaking, ahead of its time. It is Way of Kings. Way of Kings has been out for a while, and Way of Kings has some absolutely outstanding mechanics, be it magic, be it, well, what we're gonna hear about here. Why don't we just take a look at what has to be said. Wait, there's no sound? Wait, give me a second, that's my bad. No, we got this, okay? We got this. What happened? I can fill that in. Ah, this is the first time something went this wrong. Is this the... Wait, let me watch this real quick. No, this is not it. No, we can't run this one yet. Oh god, almost ran the wrong trailer. Listen, folks. We're gonna get there, okay? This is it. Wait, does it not play music in OBS? Oh, don't tell me that it does that. Give me a second here. Okay, give me 1 hot minute. I want to try this.
There once was a tribe called the Parshendi. The tribe was found by the Alethi. Then they sent out the assassin in white who struck King Gavilar down. Soon may the Everstorm come, we'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and go. Because they wanted to even the score, the Alethi up and went to war. They all came out to the shattered plains where those high storms blow. Soon may the Everstorm come, we'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and go. A Josh brand newly on his face, a slave was brought to that awful place. With a strange windspren right at his back, he got put into Bridge 4. Soon may the Everstorm come, we'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and go.
Hello, my name is Dobson, the developer behind the Way of Kings Total Conversion. As the Way of Kings is nearing feature completion, there are far too many systems to be able to cover them all in a video like this. Therefore, I would like to tell you just about what I've been working on recently. The new endgame mechanics. Right now, we have two versions of the Oath Pact game plan. One to dismantle it, and one to restore it. You can think of these as the Singer and Human victory conditions respectively. Of course, in the spirit of Crusader Kings, these do not actually end the game, but instead provide incentives to pursue huge long-term targets you can work towards over hundreds of years, and feel like you've accomplished something extremely challenging by the end of it. They're effectively achievements. The Singers have a very straightforward game plan. You need to research Stormform, summon the Everstorm, and kill all of the Heralds. This is difficult because not only will the Heralds counter-scheme against anyone who dares try to scheme against them, but each year there's a chance that one of the dead Heralds will reincarnate. That is, unless you find some way to permanently destroy their souls, such as claiming Nightblood. Using Nightblood can be a double-edged sword, quite literally, as if the sword judges you to be evil, then it will eat you instead of your enemy. If you choose to go that route, then you will have to strike the right balance between seeming evil to the blade and murdering the Heralds. Once you've accomplished the murder of all the Heralds, simply take the decision to dismantle the Oath Pact. From that point on, the Everstorm will last forever, and the Spren will no longer bond with humans. The restoration of the Oath Pact is a goal for those who are dedicated to playing as the Knights Radiant, which is probably the reason most people want to play this mod. For those who don't know, the TLDR is that the Knights Radiant is an organization of mentally ill, glow-in-the-dark people who have weaponized therapy, and you too can become one by having a stress break and bonding your very own therapy fairy called a Spren. As a Knight Radiant, you progress in power by managing your mental health, that is to say, your stress, and living up to the ideals of your order. Basically every order has its own code of chivalry. There are 10 orders of Knight Radiant, each with its own Spren types and 5 levels based on which oaths you've sworn as a knight. You can get started working towards the Oath Pact already in the second cultural era. A culture head who is Radiant will be offered the Radiant Innovation associated to their order. These provide a varied set of bonuses, from simple stat buffs to men-at-arms regiments and alternative ways to manage your stress. Once a culture has unlocked all 10 Radiant innovations, an 11th innovation is unlocked. Luminocracy, the rule of radiance. Note that since the 10 orders are mutually exclusive, there is a soft limit of 10 generations to be able to achieve this for your culture. Out of all the custom governments in the Way of Kings, the Luminocracy government type is definitely the one you're going to want to strive towards as a Radiant. Firstly, it grants a bunch of game-changing bonuses, and a few penalties to change things up, and greatly improves your chances of becoming Radiant in the first place. It also unlocks the Radiant Council, a bunch of important decisions, and the Radiance Dynasty Legacy, which unlocks even more powerful decisions, such as the decision to revive a dead Shardblade. Final of these unlocks the Restore Oath Pact decision, which has very high requirements. You can reduce these requirements to a more manageable level by hunting down and eliminating the Unmade. Each Unmade you manage to capture or eliminate reduces the requirements by 1. In other words, you still need to get your hands on some high-level Radiant Counselors, but not as many as you'd normally need. At the time of recording, there are 3 Unmade who have been fully implemented. Nurgaul, the Thrill, who drives the region to war, Ashertmarn, the Heart of the Revel, who drives people to incessant feasting and indulging in carnal pleasures, and Yelignar, the Blightwind, who seduces the ambitious with promises of great power before consuming.
Once was a tribe called the
In
Parshendi.
each
The
case,
tribe was
the way to
found
defeat
by
them is
the
to impress them when
Alethi.
they're
Then they
offered to you,
sent out
then
the
overcoming
assassin
the
in
special
white who
challenges that
struck
come with
King
each case.
Gavilar down.
There's one more unmade in the works, Reshafir, the Midnight Mother. However, she works a bit differently than the previous three, and so she needed some special mechanics. She's not really an enemy that can be fought with armies, but a small group of powerful Radiants could potentially handle her. So, let me just launch the Dungeon Delve minigame. And this is how you'll be resolving small-scale combats when delving deep underground in order to find and capture the Midnight Mother. Thus far, about half the skills are implemented, and the exact meta mechanics aren't set in stone yet, but you can expect either something like the D&D style combat grid, or a Dark Dungeon style slot-based combat system. You'll basically be delving into the catacombs of Urithiru, using event chains, and then the actual fights will be resolved using this minigame. At any rate, when you've managed to capture enough unmade that you managed to restore the Oath Pact, the singers will permanently be unable to summon Desolations and the Everstorm, and any remaining unmade will be eliminated. You and any of your Radiant Counselors who are participating in the ritual will also become heralds.
Future Thompson here. Just wanting to add that not only did I finish these features, I also added 6 more victory conditions in the time since I started editing this video. You may now claim Roshar in the name of 8 of the shards of Adnalcium. Feature completion is so close that I can taste it. Also, until now, the Way of Kings was always the mod that had all of the advanced tech and complex emergent systems, but it lacked in the graphics department. That's about to change, as I finally got my hands on some 3D artists. This is the Tower City of Urithiru by Swinledge. It's the headquarters of the Knights Radiant, and these Oath Gates outside of it allow instantaneous teleportation to any of the Dawn cities in the game. The Way of Kings is out and fully playable right now. Depending on how much I've no-lifed after recording this, these features may even be out already.
Thank you for your time, and remember, life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination.
Unite them.
Well, folks, and that is a that is a reason to watch trailers and to not watch trailers. I could not have experienced this amazing sea shanty with you for the first time if not for me not watching it. But had I watched it, you would not have gotten jump scared. Oh my god. But can we just talk about how great that actual content was? First of all, I love the sea shanty. That was totally worth it. But second of all, I will say, holy moly. Dungeon crawling? All those features about the blade, that if the blade thinks you're evil, it's going to kill you and not your enemy? That stuff is insane. That is Thompson, by the way. If you weren't aware, and if you want some insane stuff, then go check out Thompson. He is the Jank Master. He's respected in the modder community for being the Jank Master. He's the person that goes out of his way to just implement whatever he feels like, and dungeon crawling is one of those things. Now, next up. What's this? Can somebody remind me what? I don't know why I keep doing this joke. It's not even funny. But I'm stuck in this joke loop. It's not even funny. What am I doing? It's just, listen. Next up is the Four Nations. You may have heard about it. It's a pretty cool thing. Isn't out. What's up with that? Let's do it. Let's take a look at it, shall we?
Hi, I'm Typical, and I'm lead developer on the Four Nations CK3 mod, as well as one of the lore keepers from the project.
And I'm Great Marshall, also a developer and lore keeper for the Four Nations. And today, we're going to give you a short overview of all events leading to the Broken Nation bookmark.
Yes, but before we start, there is one thing we need to address. Our mod will be using calendar system different from the canonical one. Gameplay-wise, it's necessary because CK3 years beyond 9999 get a bit buggy, so it makes more sense for us to use calendar that won't cause any crashes. Lore-wise, we are calling this calendar Unification Calendar and starts from the year of the Earth Kingdom creation. The show uses BG-AG, before and after genocide, which makes sense during the 100 Years' War, but our first bookmark takes place well before that. The year of the Earth Kingdom creation is 0 EU, which is canonically 3215 BG.
So, with that out of the way, let's get right into the lore for the Broken Nation bookmark. 2,917 years after unification, during a diplomatic mission, Avatar Kyoshi mistook the Fire Lord's half-brother Cheijin Sawan as the actual Fire Lord. Believing the Avatar's recognition was enough justification to press his claim, a rebellion broke out for the throne. They are known as the First Camellia Peony War. The Sawan family, wanting to cement their power, quickly rallied around Cheijin and proclaimed him the true Fire Lord. Meanwhile, the Rakarai family, of which the reigning Fire Lord hailed, proclaimed to the Sawan and their supporters to be nothing more than opportunistic traitors. The rebellion was bloody and dragged on for 3 years, but in the end, the Sawan were purged and Cheijin was captured. Due to the delicateness of the situation, Fire Lord Zori was forced to spare Cheijin from execution, but later murdered him anyway by means of poison.
With the end of Camellia Peony War, a fragile calm washed over the Broken Nation. 21 unsteady years went by, and in 2941 AU, Fire Lord Zori died, leaving the throne to his 14-year-old son, Ozan. Only a decade later, in 2952 AU, a much more violent civil war broke out, known as Second Camellia Peony War. In the capital, Rakurai family still reigned, albeit in isolation from the nobles and courtiers normally fawning over the Fire Lord. In the highlands to the south, Sawan clan resurged, falling in line behind the hidden son of Cheijin, himself a competent military commander. Finally, in the old capital, Ozan's traitorous uncle Tujiro Maeda began a campaign of his own, to take the throne by force, commanding a sizable army of faithless militants who have abandoned Ozan. The conflict between those three raged on until a ceasefire was forced, ironically another civil war, located on the Iron Island of Ono, off the eastern coast. With the instability on the island, the supply chain of the iron was broken, and not one contender could keep up going with the supplies, degrading at the rate there were. Unfortunately, this break was perfect opportunity for the Sun King Voltan, who yearned to reclaim mainland for his people. Blindsiding the three claimants, the Sun Warriors marched south, joining the post-war. With a tense ceasefire, countless wounded, enemies on all sides, and rapidly dwindling supplies, all claimants must deal with those problems head-on or face total collapse. A race against time. The success of one means the death of the others, and the last man standing will be he who is meant to finally heal the Broken Nation.
Thanks for watching this short lore overview, and we hope we've made you interested in checking out our mod.
And now, the T4N team presents Typical's Tributary Framework.
Well, there you have it. The Four Nations is coming. We haven't heard about that in basically ages. But now here we are, and all of a sudden they come, and they come with tributaries. Isn't that something? I feel like that is something, but you know what is also something? Me realizing that, man, the Game of Thrones segment is pretty big. I think we need to step up our time. So what I'm going to tell you is right now is very simple. Next up is Lord of the Rings. Why don't you just take a look? I think it speaks for itself. Enjoy.
The Realms in Exile Showcase. Our enemy is ready, his full strength gathered. This will be the end of Middle-earth as we know it. Here the hammer stroke will fall hardest. In Gondor, the steward Denethor secludes himself in the White Tower, preparing his realm for the great battle. His sons wage war in Osgiliath and Ithilien to turn back the growing tide. Sauron prepares to crush Gondor, the last great kingdom of the Dunedain. His full strength is almost gathered. Barad-dûr has been rebuilt. He need only the One Ring to make his victory absolute. In golden Meduseld, Theoden, king of the Riddermark, sits upon the throne of his forefathers, but a shadow is on him, and the borders of his kingdom are pressed by foes unexpected. In Isengard, Saruman the White contemplates a plan to force his will on Middle-earth and bring about a new order. Seeking a beneficial alliance with the Rohirrim has been frustrated at all points by the wizard. Wulfgard of House Freka must choose to face either the wrath of Theoden or that of Saruman. To the south, Gondor's old foes in Harad and Umbar are recovering. Suladan looks to restore his family to their birthright as the preeminent kingdom of the Haradwaith. The heir to Castamir and Black Lord of Umbar, Cthulfisgan, must take advantage of their position as the third realm in exile. Hope rests upon a knife edge, here at the dawn of a new age. Shall the realms in exile stand triumphant, or will they fall into oblivion as evil crushes them in its march towards the sea?
Play as Theoden, son of Thengel and king of Rohan. In the year 3000, his son, the Prince Theodred, still lives and rules the Westfold. Construct special buildings for Helm's Deep, Outburn, and Edoras. Forth, riders of Rohan, and fear no darkness.
Play as Saruman the White, Lord of Isengard and the head of the White Council and the Astari Order. Choose to betray the light and use the Palantir. Build an army worthy of Isengard. Perhaps the worthy men of Dunland would better serve you than the vile orc. Remove those who would oppose your will. Stain the land in the blood of your enemies. A new order is rising. Its victory is at hand.
Play as Denethor, the steward of Minas Tirith. Your son, Boromir, is a great captain of men. How long must a kingdom be without a king? And though you do not see it, Faramir stands beside his brother in valiance. Will you see the return of the king? Or retain Gondor, swearing vengeance on disloyalty? I will see the glory of Gondor restored, for Gondor and the White City.
Play as Sauron, Lord of the Earth, Lord of the Rings. In the land of Mordor, from his tower of Barad-dûr, the Dark Lord Sauron receives tribute from all lands and prepares for his great war. Industrialize Mordor with a full set of Uruk buildings. Sauron shall rule this Middle-earth.
Middle-earth has mighty characters capable of great feats of sorcery. Delve into this art and conduct dark rituals to raise armies, devastate enemies, and grant yourself unnatural powers.
In lands to the south of Gondor and Umbar is Afar Haradwaith. In Realms 2.2, we will be visiting this vast land and encounter the fourth realm in exile, the faithful Belakar. Yet evil stirs in Abrakan beyond the deserts of the Naferati. We hope you join us on this journey into the Forgotten South, and look forward to telling you more soon.
Well, folks, that was the Lord of the Rings trailer without music because I been too busy in the last couple of days. I actually forgot about Matt. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But the funny thing is, this isn't actually everything that there is to Lord of the Rings. There's something else that I'm going to show you right now. Enjoy. How about that? A throne room. A throne room, folks! You know, doesn't that make up for the fact that I forgot to add music? I remembered to add the throne room. It doesn't make up for it, but as I said, this is the worst ModCon that has ever been held, and the next one will be better. Seriously, it's just been a bit exhausting, but I think that Lord of the Rings speaks for itself, so I'll be honest with you at that point. The work that the team has done is absolutely outstanding. It is, to a degree, unrivaled, I think. Now, there is one more mod that comes before a Game of Thrones. And that mod is a mystery mod. We actually, you know what? Give me one moment. We need to take this time. Let me tell you. We need to take this moment, okay? I can... why can't I... Here we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, if you click on the website, on the mystery mods page, right here, this is what happens. Now I think that it is time to reveal what this mod is actually about. So let's take a look at it, shall we?
What is peace? Everyone seems to want it, but what is its worth? Stability, economy, and an army, all these things are important to maintain a kingdom. But for what do the kings use their power? War and corruption, a disease throughout the world. The people are suffering under the attacks of the monsters, and do not know how to help themselves. All the while, the loyal nobles see their king as the defender of the peace, but the real defenders are the ones who defend the people, the Witchers.
Is that Skellige sexy or what? What a great looking Skellige. Seriously, I actually pleaded with them to include Skellige because it just looks that good. Now I am here currently with one of the devs. How you doing, Malte? Malte, you are one of the devs behind the mod that was just announced. namely, of course, the... Wait a minute. Oh, no, wait a minute. They might not be able to hear you. Oh, why is everything going wrong? Here we go. Now they can hear you. Malte, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Very happy that the announcement was working good. Yes. Bit
Right.
hyped
The
for
announcement did go very well. The after section, not so much. But we can bring it back. Now, this is the Witcher Kings. And I have to tell you personally, as somebody that makes CK3 content, I have gotten so many different messages about, is there a Witcher Kings mod? And yet, there never was one. Where can we follow the development right now?
Yeah, you already posted the Discord link in the YouTube chat. That is the there we will post our developing progress and yes, everything about the mod, what you should know, dev diaries, and everything else. Yes.
Go check it out. Go join that Discord. There is, of course, a lot of work to be done, but I will be honest with you, if you look at that Skellige and you don't recognize it, if you don't appreciate that Skellige, then, I mean, the size of that Skellige on its own, that is already pretty crazy. Now, of course, the world of The Witcher is pretty big. What regions will The Witcher Kings contain?
Of course, the main regions that you know from the games, from the books, from the series will be there. The Northern Kingdoms, the Nilfgaard, Kovir, Skellige, of course. But maybe there will be more in the future. Who knows?
All right, so we're thinking about basically a base map region that, you know, may or may not. Who knows what happens in the future? I like the vagueness of it. Now, when it comes to the actual map, of course, The Witcher isn't a map game. You know, it's easy to make maps of, well, it's not easy, but it's easier to make maps of basically things that are quite, you know, that are already maps, for example, like fantasy maps, that sort of stuff. Now, The Witcher is primarily focused either on the books or on the situation that you actually find in the games. Will the actual map be exactly like in the games?
Of course, you will when you played only the games. You will see you will see already known regions again, but the map will be a bit different than you know it from the game. Skellige will look different. The Isles will lay on a different position, and this is because we want to combine all the lore that we know, the one from the games, the one from the books, to give you the best Witcher experience that you can get.
Only the best. Now, you know, with all of these plans, there's already so much that you mentioned, that there's Skellige, there's, you know, the idea that is going on. The mod's gonna release basically very soon, right?
Yeah, everything is mapped. Every task there, we have tons of decisions. It will release basically tomorrow. No, of course, a joke. We will need some time, of course.
Yeah,
we
right.
will release approach like Elder Kings 2. We want a good base, a good base version that will release, that we can update and add lots of flavor to specific regions.
Right, so of course there's a lot of work still to be done, so people have patience, but honestly, you actually straight up just surprised me, because I thought the answer would be something, you know, when, like, we don't know it, but like, this is already okay. So there's a lot of work already done. People, seriously, join the Discord. If you join the Discord, you get the information that I apparently lack. And with that, Malte, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And good modding.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you. We'll see you again. Of course. Hopefully.
Of course, I'm absolutely certain. I'm excited for that mod. Now, I do have to head out, and oh, there's a mod coming, folks. My acting skills. How? What's the next mod coming? Do we have another mod? Is there another mod coming, folks? Nobody told me. Oh, I am so excited for this one. I have to tell you, the trailer is so damn good. There's so much information coming. And of course, I could only be talking about one mod. One mod out of all the mods that exist. CK3, A Game of Thrones. And I'm not gonna tease you any longer. Ours is the goddamn fury. Enjoy. Folks, and there you have it. That was the A Game of Thrones mod showcase here for ModCon. It has, of course, been a long wait, and I'm now joined here, because this is not the end yet for this segment. I'm joined by Swordsman, who is one of the 3D designers behind the mod, and by Voltaire, who does basically everything. He has done a lot of work on the mod. And I'm going to ask these two a couple of questions, just so that, you get a bit more info. And as you can see, everything is very normal, for example, with Swordsman. And you know what? That's the first person that I'm going to talk to here tonight as well. What assets have you worked on so far for the mod?
I worked on a few assets. For me right now, it's armor and arms. So a few swords I've made, Lamentation, Dawn, Ice, those types of things. But really my focus has been armor, such as the Northern armors. I've done some Stormlands, Westerlands, the Veil, that type of thing. And really, I'm taking those inspirations from real-life armors, actually, and just going through them and trying to see what fits into the lore. But that's really been my focus for the past few months, and that's where I spend most of my free time doing.
All right, now with so many amazing assets on the way, how much time does that actually take?
It's honestly all together taken a few months. I don't have a lot of free time, which I try to put all into making the armors. Honestly, a few armors, depending how difficult it is, more male, early types of armors are pretty easy to make. And honestly, it might just take me a few hours, whereas if it's plate armor, stuff like that, there's so much that goes into it, research, texturing, unwrapping, so many little parts that it can take, quite a few days to even just make one armor. Honestly, I've actually lost a lot of the armors at one point. I forgot to back up, so I've had to recreate a lot of them as well, so that's taken a bit longer.
It's a massive, massive project, and of course that means that things can go wrong. But when they go right, in a creative project like this one with a fantasy mod that has so much feedback, that has so much background, and that is so well known, there's a bit of pressure, I think, right? To make armors that look good, that function. What goes into it? What are the inspirations for the designs that you choose?
But honestly, there's a few inspirations. The main thing is that I do like historical arms and armor, and I like things that are realistic. Game of Thrones is low fantasy and not a high fantasy, more Lord of the Rings type thing. So I think that keeping the armors grounded and at least plausible is pretty important. That being said, there's a few descriptions that does make it a bit more embroidered, a bit more flamboyant. So we try to take everything and make a good medium. That being said, I will say right now that it is a bit more based on reality than the high fantasy stuff that you usually see in most media. Honestly, the main things we take for inspiration is basically how the DRM talks about the world. He's talked about how the North is a bit more, male is more prominent as the armor, whereas the South is a bit more advanced. And this we take into it. So the North right now is a bit more based on early medieval Danes to high medieval ages. And this kind of shows up in the armor. So the low tier armors are a bit more early, a bit more like what we call Viking armor. And then the higher tiers are a bit more what we see with high medieval or late high medieval armor, such as, full mail hauberks, the Great Helm, and then coat of plates. That being said, we also take into effect the other types of armor. So Westerlands is pretty rich, and they are still based on a bit more late medieval. So we've taken inspiration from a very popular and very good-looking armor that a lot of people do like, which is German Gothic. So a lot of that armor is what we take into Westerlands, still trying to make it a bit more decorated. Even like the low tiers would still have plate armor compared to the North, where even the highest tier don't even. So it is still something we're trying to balance, but because of how the cultures are shown, we still want to have everyone have their individual unique look, kind of just showing off their culture as well.
It does really seem like there's going to be a lot of color and a lot of content in A Game of Thrones. I mean, that's very impressive that, there's so much thought going into that. Now, of course, I have to ask this question. There used to be a show, I don't know whether you heard of it, called A Game of Thrones. Everybody kind of lost track of it in Season 8. But the interesting thing about it is that they, of course, also had a lot of designs of outfits, right? How much of that goes into the mod?
Honestly, I'd like to say that it is kind of a hard thing to get, and a lot of people love this show so much. I'm not even gonna lie. I was introduced to Game of Thrones through the show, as most people were. A lot of people on the team were as well. However, a lot of people, don't even want to acknowledge the show existed at all. Even the earlier, better seasons who went on say. But when it comes to armor, it really depends if something's plausible. Season 1 was very, very well made, in my opinion. There's a lot of shapes that are actually very correct and could absolutely work in armor. And these things we are still trying to take inspiration from. A good idea is the coat of plates that the Northerners wear. Now, this isn't something that would totally work. They are weird shapes, and they wouldn't be the best in a real type of armor. But we are still taking them because so many people think it's iconic and looks great. Other things like that is the King's Landing, King's Guard armor. which is really beloved, even though it kind of goes against the book canon, which we're trying to find kind of a middle between the two. So really, it is type of thing where we are trying to take inspiration from it, but a lot of times if something doesn't work or is odd, we're not going to take inspiration and keep the book canon.
Thank you, Swordsman. Now, that is, of course, one of those topics, with the show. I like to see that there is a bit of a compromise going on, a middle road. Now, Voltaire, how does that look on the other end of the modding spectrum? So, when it comes to the map, when it comes to the general design, how much do you take from the show?
Okay, well, I think for the map, it's almost entirely based on the books, actually, especially when it comes to the keeps. So, one in particular that we've showed off a lot in the showcase, the Red Keep, we actually did take a little bit of inspiration from the show, but say River Run, that's based pretty much entirely on the books. High Garden, also entirely on the books. In fact, one of our developers, Flo, he actually went into our dev stream channel on our Discord server and literally blocked out High Garden live using reference images that people from the community sent him during the stream. I hopped in there and we chatted while the community gave their input, and I'd read it to him while he's doing the modeling. So there's definitely a heavy focus on sticking to the book canon with 3D aesthetics. However, where the show doesn't conflict with the books, like say some of the aesthetic of the Red Keep and some of the clothing, like the clothing I'm wearing right now from Jaime Lannister, that will be ported into the mod and incorporated to make really the most comprehensive vision of Westeros that, honestly, that I think that Gurm would be at least a little proud of. Moving on to just a few other features. One thing we take from the show in particular is we're going to try and incorporate. So there was a Telltale Game of Thrones game, and what we want to do is incorporate some of the storyline from that, where it doesn't exactly conflict with the books and can add good gameplay when we start adding later bookmarks for House Forest. So there's all kinds of inspiration we take from the books, the show, and the games, but overall the books are on top.
Right, so basically you're taking the best that you can get and then stay as true to the source material as you can. That is very good to hear. I'm also happy to hear, as somebody that kind of still stuck inside of reading the books, that I don't need to know everything from cover to cover to be able to enjoy the mod. Now, with that being
certainly.
said... Yeah. It's always one of those topics, right?
I'll be honest, when I first played the CK2 mod, I didn't read a single page of the books, and I loved it. In fact, embarrassing story, there was a girl I had a crush on, and she started watching Game of Thrones, so I started watching Game of Thrones, and now I'm a mod developer. So, weird how the word works.
That is a very common pipeline into CK3 modding, is what I've been told. Women are crazy for CK3 modders. You heard it here first. And probably also last, but I will just say, as the next question looms, when it comes to the map design, and it is a very unique map from what we've seen here, and of course a very large map. Larger, I think, than most, if not all, other projects, right? What goes
to my
into
knowledge,
that?
yes.
Yeah, right. There are other massive maps, but this one, of course, takes it to an entirely different league. What exactly is driving it? What is the design idea? What's the philosophy behind it?
Getting in a Discord voice chat with the other leads at 2 a.m. looking at map images. So a lot of time in Photoshop looking at a province map, and then to be a little more serious, so for Foxwillow, when he was mapping the Reach, what he would do is he would take the Dunk and Egg novellas, and he would go to the segments where they talked about House Weber and the houses neighboring House Weber. He would take a note of those, and then he would make sure that at least barons, maybe counties for each of those houses was represented on the map, so that all of those could border House Weber, like the one with the checky line. I forget the name of them. I think I want to say Grayton or Grayson or something like that. All these different houses, so that they can reflect, even those obscure things that even some book readers aren't necessarily aware of, and definitely most show readers probably haven't even heard of Dunk and Egg. So, yeah, those kinds of things, that goes into it. And then the other thing is we want to make sure it's good for gameplay. So when you saw some Adorn, which I mapped, One thing I wanted to make sure was that when you were trying to enter Dorne, that it was as difficult as described in canon, while not being stupidly frustrating. So we had the Prince's Pass, there's the Bone Way, also known as the Stone Way, and then there's this little entrance I added myself in the mountains called Vulture's, where Vulture's Roost is. This one minor keep mentioned in the story. And, you know, so you have the more straightforward path through the Prince's Pass. You have the more obvious coastal path, but still very difficult one through the Bone Way. And then if you really want to go crazy, you can go through the mountain pass in the Vulture's Roost. There's actually another one by Horn Hill near the Reach, but that one's kind of even more suicidal than Vulture's Roost. But generally the idea is that we want to make it so that it's possible for you to get in the canon ways. There's a few extra, but you should probably go with the canon way because that's the canon way for a reason. Yeah. And other things is like the specific positioning of keeps, like the Tower of Joy, which plays a big part in the Robert's Rebellion. That is the entrance to the Prince's Pass on our map. Skyreach, which is the seat of House Fowler, one of the major houses in Dorne. That's at the end of the Prince's Pass. So, you know, it's like setting up those strategic locations so that certain houses have that importance they deserve and can impact your gameplay when you're sending your large doom stacks into Dorne, and they show up with their doom stack in favorable terrain for their men-at-arms. So, yeah.
So it's basically designed around being very much recognizable and then at the same time compromising with the best solution for gameplay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say compromising because I think that the way that George describes his world is a bit fitting for interesting gameplay terrain-wise, you know? Like I've already mentioned, all the passes in Dorne. But we also have, like, the Neck, which is very difficult to get through, and you have Moat Cailin. And, you know, the gameplay loop there will be very much based around how the hell do I get through the Neck without the frogmen killing me, you know? And also, like, the Westerlands, we have the ridges because it's a very hilly highlands area. There's so much. I could go on forever about the terrain, and we probably will in some future dev diaries. Check out our server.
I know that many people probably want me to basically tie you down here and just keep having a ramble on. But we've come to the end of this, but of course there's one question that I have to ask. There's one topic that cannot be skipped, despite, of course, all of this being so informative already. When is the release date?
There is no release date yet. Of course, we are still thinking about it. However, if you want, you can, of course, join our Discord channel, our server right away, and we'll actually post a little dev diary right after this ModCon.
Yes, it's done when it's done. The Gurm way.
Folks, the Discord server link is certainly right now in the chat. It is also on our website, so go check that out and make sure to join so that you can keep up with Game of Thrones, which is undoubtedly the most anticipated mod for CK3. And that is it from us for this segment. Swordsman, Voltaire, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I really, really enjoyed having you here and learning so much about the wonderful mod that you're working on. And with that, we're out.
Wiedersehen, bis nächsten Zeit.
And that was a Game of Thrones. Big shout out to all the people that posted cringe in my chat and got banned. Don't post cringe in my shit. Listen, here's the deal. Game of Thrones, that was a huge segment. I'm so glad we had it. I am blown away by the amount of content by King's Landing. Oh my god! King's Landing, man! It looked so good. But you know what that freaking means? I can unbutton my suit. I can show you that I'm wearing short pants today. Look at this. You see that? All professional. ModCon is over. I just wanna take my time. I'm in a voice chat right now with all the people that worked hard on this, that sat down and said, we're gonna make this work. Hey, you nerds, shut up. I'm unmuted and undeafened. I want to say something before we all scream at one another about how terrible the work was. I want to thank the YouTube chat moderation. I want to thank every single modder. Who's doing this? Spark, you son of a gun. Listen. Oh my god. Why am I gonna hear myself a million times? Okay, listen, none of the viewers can hear you anyway. I want to thank every single modder. I want to thank the YouTube chat moderation. I want to thank all the people that were willing to bring their mods to this event, to work hard. I know that many of the people that were engaged in this actually did extra edits. Basically, they started working harder on their mod to get something ready. That is something that I definitely appreciate. There's also, it's always, there we go. Oh my god, can I stop? Foxwillow, is this you? No, listen. The people in the chat are very confused because they can't actually hear you. I just want to say thank you to every single one of you that worked on making this a thing, that came up with the idea. It was a joke idea when we started it during PDXCon. Now we're here and all of a sudden it worked. It was a wild event in many, many ways. There was so much organizational stuff to be done in the last weeks. You know, that's just how these events go. It's all voluntary, of course. And I want to mention the biggest thing coming out of all of this, I think, which is the donations that we have raised. We have raised 2,077 bucks in euro for Autismus Mittelfranken. I really appreciate it. It's absolutely massive. It's absolute huge. Now they can actually hear all of you mods now. I forcibly muted CyberX can. I can hear myself in the background, by the way. It's not that good. This was ModCon. How do you all feel?
Thank you for putting all this together. It's,
Ours is the
yeah,
fury,
it's
baby!
fabulous.
Also fury.
God, here's your modding.
Would you do it another time?
No.
Yeah,
Yes. I hated it. It's the worst.
Are you kidding me?
It's good.
Definitely would.
We can do a summer and a winter version as well.
Oh
you know,
god, no!
something
Don't.
like that.
You know how much work that is? Please don't.
We should make this monthly.
Yes.
Oh no.
I prefer weekly.
You know, let's do half monthly. You know, just every 2 weeks.
Daily ModCon.
Oh god.
Daily.
And
folks.
every day is about God Herja.
A game of
jeez.
We're gonna do a video every day.
Can you believe we actually did it? Like we sat down. There was a joke during PDXCon to do this, and now we did it. You know what? I also want to take a moment and say thank you to everybody that watched, for everybody that donated, for everybody that told their mother, their father, their spouse, maybe their enemy. Hey, we welcome even your enemies here. Thank you very much for all of that. This has been a really interesting community effort.
First I told my mother, I am my mother.
Excuse me.
But
Oh
only
my
a mother,
goodness.
but a grandmother too.
So much sleep lost working on that. The
Oh,
trailer,
Thompson,
the dev
please! Oh
diaries.
my.
I can attest for sleep lost. Yes.
Did you all see like what Thompson's joke actually was there? He said, "What do you mean? Tell my mother. I am my mother." You know, you get the
Beautiful.
Absolutely
beautiful.
Okay.
I got it. That's why I
When
corrected
LPB explains your
It's
jokes.
grandmother too.
So here's the thing. I know that many of you are just as exhausted as I am, because the Majapahit stuff. I mean, that very, very obviously was extremely tiresome. I mean, El Toranos with like 10 hours per day. That's insanity. Take breaks, folks. So the next ModCon can happen in a year, which will then be the first update of everybody's mod, right? Because we just stopped working now, basically.
Of course.
Well, we've
Exactly,
even
that's
already
what we're going to
posted
do.
an update on our video to our Reddit, so.
I'm pretty sure I still have to do some bug
Can I just
fixes
say this
before I
might have
release my
happened at the
patch
single
notes.
worst time imaginable for me? I literally am starting new medication. My whole life is very chaotic. And then all of a sudden I wake up one day, look at the Discord, and it's like, Panzer, have you put in the application for a panel yet? And I was like, what? What panel?
Yeah, we would have liked to have been on more panels too if it had.
I was
worked out.
dealing with the Victoria 3 co-op thing too. Like, it was just chaos. And then this drops on me.
I remember that. Yeah, that was fun.
And now we've done it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's just
It's Freedom Day, boys.
Bavaria has it to get me.
It is Freedom Day. Did you see that my glasses already broke? This is the worst gimmick item that I've ever purchased. This suit I can wear for years and years and years. This one, I actually unpacked it bent it a bit too much, and immediately the one of the things broke. This is such a nonsense.
Is it made in the US?
No, I mean, I don't
If you
understand.
want a true American product,
You have to buy it in Germany
But it's
from
like
a German.
See, this was the
Just grab
first
some
thing,
Oakleys.
This was the first thing I found on Amazon. It was like $5. This was not cheap. This was a $5 equipment that is immediately broken. Good thing
But you know,
goes
you
on
can
Amazon.
probably get like 1,000 of them
Yeah.
from Alibaba for the same $5 almost.
You should have just asked Castox to make one for you.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, sure. He has like a 3D printer somewhere or 4D printer.
I wish.
Oh yeah,
want one
can
of
I?
those,
I
actually.
actually
That-
see. I would actually like to take the time. For those that don't know it, which is basically only people that weren't involved in ModCon, everybody else knows about it. Castox, who is behind Heaven of Sin, has made the backgrounds, the frames, has edited so much stuff, has done all the teasers. The Game of Thrones trailer was edited by Castox. I will tell you straight up, and if you're watching this, if you are a content creator that is sitting out there and saying, hey, wait a minute, I create content for EU4, I could do this as well, you need a Castox or you will despair. I forgot to mention the biggest thing. The entire website, you know why that exists? Yeah, that's right, because of Castox. Seriously, Castox, thank you incredibly very much. It made it all possible.
And he did it all on his phone.
Yeah, the majority of my phone. Those wonderful trailers were done in the parking lot of the Buffalo Wild Wings.
Dear God.
Where else would you do them?
That blows my mind. Ow.
That's where I do all my development.
Let me actually, I wanna post this in the chat. So, folks, if you don't know what they're talking about, check this out. The amazing trailers that you see, click on the link that I posted, okay? It's not a joke. This is not a joke. This is actually serious. This is what this world is like. Okay? This is not, nobody's kidding here.
No, there's no jokes about this. Like Castox actually, so I recorded all of the footage, renders, map, everything for the AGOT trailer, but Castox is the one who actually edited it and added the After Effects.
On his phone.
Yes, on his phone.
On his phone.
Well, eating Buffalo Wild.
Not all of it. Not all of it. So I did the book part in After Effects, and then I imported that, and I just kind of mix it down on my phone. It's actually a commercial for the app now. But yeah, if I have some time, I like to thank my girlfriend for putting up with me and not getting too upset with me when I'm spending a lot of my time on this project. But yeah, big thank you to you if she watches this later.
Nice.
Sorry to have
shoulder massage from carrying the entire ModCon.
I send a thank you to the video makers from our from our own teams as well. In my case, to Nico.
Nico,
I would
yeah.
very much thank each and every one of you making this great experience possible. And OPB, I love you, suit. Where did you get it?
Straight up Amazon. I'm not even kidding. There's a backstory to this, by the way, because you know, it's difficult to like commit to stuff like doing a YouTube channel. But when I was contacted about the PDXCon award, I said to myself, you either do this like entirely or you don't. And the only reasonable action after that was to buy that suit. Just run with it. And that's how we got here.
I just assumed that was government issue over there.
Fantastic.
I wish it was. I really do.
That
I will
suit makes
actually.
me want to
I
keep a
do want to
million.
mention this. I will actually, for the first time ever, because obviously I don't leave the house like this. Are you kidding me? So it's gonna take me some time because
You leave the house?
And I'm not kidding here, by the way. So, and this is obviously, it makes a lot of sense. But let me just explain this when we're at the end anyway. So PayPal saw all of these donations come in and was like, excuse me, what the fuck? And it makes sense, right? It seems a lot like we're laundering money. But we're not. I'm gonna contact them on Monday. It's gonna be all good. Once I got that figured out, I'm gonna get a novelty check, and I'm gonna, in the suit, go all the way to Nuremberg, all the way up there, and then hand over the check, take some photos, post them on Twitter, and then you know the money actually arrived. But it's gonna take me some time again. I need to tell tell PayPal that the guy in the Bavarian suit is not scamming people for money. That it's just a donation, okay?
I'm just gonna be straight. I would not trust you if you tried selling me anything.
Oh,
wearing that?
Wearing that suit.
Well, I just sold
That's a
you
great
a
idea.
ModCon.
I also have to go, but I just want to thank
Yeah.
Bavaria for being a fantastic friend and a mediocre content creator, and everybody else from the
Oh my
co-op
God.
for being wonderful in
Damn.
general,
Ooh.
and the community
That's
for
rough.
also being there. Thank you all. I love you all very much.
We did it.
We love you too.
Auf Wiedersehen, Panzer.
Great.
I will
I
actually.
would also like to say thank you to OPB for making it look like my audio issues weren't my fault, but were instead his.
No, see, the thing about that is actually, so what I commonly did with everything that I got sent, even if it was finished, right, I would still push it into Premiere and see whether I would have to balance out some audio levels. One of the big things that I did, and it was like, I'm not lamenting this, I just want to like explain it. The mod administration panel had like really differing levels of sound, right? So all I did was I just went into the file and just like upped it in places and put it down in other places. Had I had the time to watch Thompson's trailer, which I didn't, I was just like, Thompson got it and he pushed it out, we want to push that. I could have prevented the jump scare, but I did not have the time.
Well,
But yeah, this is the end of the One Proper Variant YouTube channel. Thank you for coming. I'm closing it down. Yeah.
ModCon.
But no.
Oh
in,
my
in all
gosh.
seriousness, does if
Quit while you're
anybody
ahead.
if anybody still like wants to say something or thank somebody, then do it now because I'm gonna close the barn.
I would like to say that I
Focus.
just uploaded hour and 20-minute dev diary, 2 soundtracks, and I'm working
Right.
uploading a 35-minute one dev diary in addition to
Is
that.
it live, the first one?
Are you gonna be
Yeah.
uploading?
Do we have a link somewhere?
Yeah, so the first dev diary is every armor we have in progress, showing all our progress on them.
Hey, wait a
second dev
minute,
diary
wait a
will be
minute. This
later
is
today.
Voltaire speaking from a Game of Thrones. Just saying that.
Yeah, I'm the weird outfit guy. And then the second dev diary we're gonna post today is gonna be about 35 minutes
one?
of us talking about King's Landing and showing how we made it, references. Yes. And of course we also uploaded both music tracks that were in the trailer.
Beautiful.
We also have, well, we've already posted our key art from our update on our subreddit, which is R after the Fan Fourth, with details about it. And tomorrow we'll be coming up with a dev diary, I believe tomorrow, covering the stuff that we talked about in a little more depth.
So that is after the end. I'm gonna link these.
And there will be a 4th of July teaser probably on Twitter. Maybe everywhere. We'll see. Coming very, very soon.
My name is Uber, and you guys should all go play the Kingdom of Heaven.
Indeed.
that's a weird way of pronouncing Way of Kings.
See, I actually do want to point that out as well. That we had Kingdom of Heaven and we had the Fallen Eagle release stuff during ModCon, and I think that is also one of those one of a kind situations, right? Because how often are you actually gonna like get dev teams to be in a state where they can publish something right then and there as you do it? You know, I'm just saying, basically, next ModCon, whenever it happens, there's no date right now, but I want you to plan around it and only release your update or your actual mod if ModCon is happening, okay? Because otherwise we can't have a ModCon. There can't be a show if we don't have anything to show, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we have
It's
done.
kind of
We need to go one step further.
5 patches
Yeah, I
just in
know.
the time since ModCon planning started. So
We actually
We're not
saved
gonna
a
make
lot of.
mod just for ModCon.
I might
Yeah, we
actually be
saved
present in.
the entirety of King's Landing from ModCon, and I think every 3D model we showed, we didn't show before ModCon, except maybe High Garden and some of the armors on the server only. So
I mean, King's Landing is fantastic.
So this is Red Squirrel from T4N. I'd really like to thank Typical from our team for really scrambling to get the Tributaries framework released, as well as basically all the things we needed for the trailer. And you guys saw that in the Fallen Eagle mod. It looks like you guys are going to use that too. So that's going to be released today. I think he's about to ping about that.
I think it's
Anybody
out right
wants
now,
to check
right?
that out? Yeah.
I'm gonna pin it, or I'm gonna put it into chat right now. It's right there. Boom. Tributaries.
I'm Ranj. I'm from the Fallen Eagle. I just want to thank OPB for organizing the whole thing. It's been surreal from start to finish. I had an opportunity to join these panels, to express and talk with the community, which is amazing. So thank you for everything.
Okay.
This is Thompson from Way of Kings, and I would like to thank the Read and Find Out guy for doing the sea shanty.
Yeah, oh yeah. Thank you. Can I just say that? Yeah, Read and Find Out is the YouTube. That's the sea shanty fella. That was honestly amazing. That was some great stuff. I'm very happy that was in. He gave us permission as well. Great lad. If you like the Way of Kings, or if you just like funny things, then go check it out. Can you play the sea shanty before we end it? I mean, I guess I can play Thompson's trailer again. But yeah, no, I want to say really seriously that like 1 year ago, I mean, I couldn't even have thought about like any of this being possible. I mean, I don't think any of us ever considered any of it. And now that we're here, tired as hell, but we've done it. And this, as mentioned before, as a joke, but I do mean it. I'm a very ambitious person. This was the worst ModCon that you will ever have seen. Because next time will be completely outstanding and blow you the F away. So be aware that it only gets better from here. But I am very proud and very happy, very thankful for all of the people that watched, for all of the people that donated, for all of the people behind the scenes. Seriously, this was such a huge effort. If you have this is a serious take. If you're a content creator and you have a server just for a single event, okay, and you try to ping everyone and it reads, this ping will alert more than 60 people. Do you really want to do that? You know you're working on something big. Because you don't work with 60 people normally, or, 60 plus. So yeah, this was something else. I appreciate every single one of you. I do want to repeat it one more time. If I can open the tab, which I apparently cannot. Nope, that's not how you do that. One more time, we have raised 2,077. Oh, it's Cyberpunk 2077. I get it. 2,077 euro, and on top of that, of course, are 500 that come from me. So we're talking about 2.5k, almost 2.6k. That's crazy. That's insane. It's all for the charity. Again, we're gonna hand it over. I'm gonna hand it over quite soon, I think. Whenever I get PayPal off my back, but that shouldn't be an issue, folks. I'm gonna call it here. Let's all say goodbye. And see us next ModCon, huh?
We both
See it. Absolutely.
Bye.
Cheers. Later.
I am the swordsman.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well done.
Bye.
For the shanty.
Folks, I can't get it to work. I tried, okay? Just go watch it on. Listen. Have a good night, okay? Cheers. I'm trying, okay? Oh, you know what? I can actually do it. No, I figured it out. I can do it. Give me a second.
There once was a
oh,
tribe
here we go.
called the Parshendi.
You can't see it.
The
I can
tribe
hear
was
it.
found by the Alethi. Then they sent out the assassin in white who struck King Gavilar down. Soon may the Everstorm come. We'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and go. Because they wanted to even the score, the Alethi up and went to war. They all came out to the shattered plains where those high storms blow. Soon may the Everstorm come, we'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and go. A Josh brand newly on his face, a slave was brought to that awful place. With a strange wind spren right at his back, he got put into Bridge 4. Soon may the Everstorm come, we'll get out from under the human's thumb. One day when the humans are gone, we'll take what's ours and